Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is Tuesday, June 3rd. We are officially live. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm sorry I'm a little late, but we are here. And boy, oh boy, do we have a pre-market that is moving a bit crazy. From a lot of different angles. We've got some meta news this morning. I know it's a little pixely. Just give it a second. Hopefully it'll get back to normal. We have some HIMS news this morning, which is actually some really bullish HIMS news, to be honest. As someone who doesn't own stock in HIMS, it's some pretty good news. It's some pretty bullish news, and we'll discuss that. And then we have some hoodie price action in the morning that is being pretty damn exciting. And we'll talk more about kind of how that's playing out and what we're seeing right there. The Wi-Fi, again, should be fine in a second. You got to give it just a little bit, and I think we should be back to normal. But you guys should be able to hear me, right? Yeah, you should be able to hear me good. And the internet and the camera will be better. I'm not even using a professional camera anyway, so like the camera was always a little iffy, but it should be. Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, we're back to normal here. For those that don't know, again, I'm in DC. And because I'm in DC, that's why I'm in this Airbnb. I will be back on Friday to the regular studio with all the bricks as usual. But Market Open and Market Close is going to be happening today. I thought I wasn't going to be able to do the close, but I will be able to do the close. And the Market Open will be a normal, regular, like 2-3 hour stream today. So we got a lot of time to lock in, a lot of time to discuss what's going on in the markets. This is what we got in the pre-markets, folks, on a hoodie. 69.55. I have a couple reasons why I think it's moving the way it's moving, but we're up 2.3%. Palantir's up another 0.5%. Grab is up about 0.5%. Tesla's up 1%. I mean, it's not just Hood and HIMS. It's pretty much everything that's running in the pre-markets. And we do have some macro stuff to talk about that'll explain that. S&P is slightly down, but a lot of different stocks are going green. It would not surprise me if the S&P goes green by the market open. NVIDIA, 138.12, up another 0.5%. And then HIMS is up 6.5% because of an acquisition they made. I'm going to have Nate on, by the way, at around 10 a.m. So he'll be joining the stream to talk a little bit more deeper about the HIMS acquisition. So we'll get some expert analysis on HIMS because I think he is like one of the biggest people on the planet that understands this company. So we'll talk to him in a bit. But overall, pretty incredible pre-markets, very exciting stuff. And we'll talk about kind of why this price action is happening. Hopefully it's not a pump fake. It doesn't feel like a pump fake based on the close we got yesterday on a lot of these names. Even Hood closed at 67.98, 2 cents below 68. Trump did announce that he's extending the tariffs on certain goods, the pause on those tariffs from July 1st to August 31st for China. Not for everything, but for certain things. And that gave a little bit of a pep in the step in the after hours for a bunch of these stocks. Robinhood crossed 68 after hours. And now Robinhood 69.49. It kind of feels like we want to see 70 today. And if we get it, it would be pretty incredible. Grab right here up about 0.5%. HIMS right here up 6.2% as well. And then Bitcoin currently 105. So Bitcoin was at almost 102 yesterday. So nice to see a little bit of a rebound right there at 105K on Bitcoin. Oscar Health, that one also moving a little bit in the pre-markets. That one's up 3.65%. We got Joby right here. That's up 11.73%. We'll see what's the news on Joby. Last week they had the Toyota $250 million investment that really helped them out. Overall, though, you got a lot of names that are moving. You got a lot of names that are moving, and it's going to be interesting to see kind of how they play out. And it's going to be fun to see if we can crack through that $70 range. Yes, Hood was $35 2 months ago. That is correct. It was like $29 in January, so it's been a pretty big move. And then Meta, Constellation, we'll talk about that as well real quick on the stock. Meta right here, flat, not really moving. Constellation Energy, CEG, I think a lot of you guys have been talking about this one since January. Them, Vistra, Oklo, SMR, all of these different data center energy plays, they're getting a lot of momentum, not to mention the pipeline builders and midstream, upstream, all of them, even if they're not moving as aggressively as other names, are going to get a bid because over the next 20 years, we're going to need a lot of energy to power AI. That's why Kris is so bullish on VG and all these things like that. And, well, Meta signed a 20-year partnership with Clean Energy for Clean Energy with Constellation Energy Group. And that should be very good for them and also obviously very beneficial to Meta as they scale out their AI ambitions over the long term. So there you go. That's what we got. Oscar Health listed to Fortune 500. Okay, boom. There you go. That could be one of the reasons why that's getting some momentum as well in the pre-markets, up about 4 or 5%. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We got a lot to discuss. First of all, the Palantir event yesterday, just a quick recap of it. Awesome event. I got the honor of interviewing a very awesome guy. His name is Mr. Mike Gallagher. For those that don't know who he is, he was in the Marines, then he was in Congress. He now works at Palantir, and he started working at Palantir, I believe, about a year ago this time. And the dude is he's just awesome, bro. He's like, there's not much more to say other than the dude is absolutely awesome. And he's one of those guys where when you it's like Carp and Sham, right? When he talks, you listen, and you kind of really want to listen to see what he has to say. And he just consistently finds a way to be entertaining in terms of what he's saying, right? He does it in an entertaining way. And he also says stuff that really matters, especially when it comes to China, Taiwan, and the current state of the geopolitical landscape that we're in with both those countries. So this was one of those interviews that I think you guys will really enjoy. It was really fun, and we got to talk about just a bunch of different things. And what I'll say is he's a bro. Like, he's a bro's bro. He's a bro who happens to be a software defense executive. That's the best way I can explain who Mr. Mike Gallagher is. But it was really fun getting to interview him and getting to talk to him as well. So it was about a 40-minute podcast. That'll come out in a bit. Hopefully it'll come out like tomorrow. I think I'm going to try to get it edited out today. I got some clips of it edited. I'll show you guys a couple clips. But if that does get edited, then you guys will see it soon. And he's unapologetic. He's absolutely unapologetic on the idea of just like, we need to wake up every morning as Americans and make sure Xi Jinping is afraid of trying to do anything that would mess with us. And I think you kind of need people in the United States that like actually care about instilling that fear in our adversaries. So he's one of those guys, and it'll be super cool to listen to some of those clips. On top of that, before we get into some of the breaking news headlines, you did have Palantir that is taking on the mainstream media front and center. This is not a Palantir from 5 years ago. They are not going to back down silently. Here's what they posted this morning. The recently published article by the New York Times is blatantly untrue. Palantir never collects data to unlawfully surveil Americans, and our Foundry platform employs granular security protections. If the facts were on its side, the New York Times would not have needed to twist the truth. I think Jon Stewart last night roasted Palantir. Look, here's the thing, dude. The mainstream media is, for lack of a better word, evil. I mean, there are many, many, many lies and manipulative tactics that the mainstream media uses. And I'm not saying everything they do is horrible, but a lot of what they do is blatantly disgusting. And I think when it comes to Palantir, if the narrative is going to be, hey, there's this big boogeyman company that's getting all these contracts from Trump, which really is to make Trump look bad. I mean, they don't even care that much about Palantir. They want to make sure that Trump looks bad in a way because the mainstream media hates Trump. Like, it is what it is. They don't like the guy. And they can use Palantir as the scapegoat or the mechanism by which they can get at Trump by showing that Trump's creating the surveillance state. Then that's what they're going to do. And a real surveillance state is something like China. Like if American mainstream media, this is quite frankly, I'm influenced by Gallagher from hearing him talk about this yesterday. If the American mainstream media actually spent the amount of time they spend creating lies about American companies that are creating a surveillance state and put that energy against China and expose how much of a surveillance state they're creating, because most of the American youth, most people in their 20s don't really know how tactical and aggressive the CCP is with censorship and with a true surveillance state, then maybe we would have a different country. Maybe our youth would not be brainwashed into believing that, certain parts of China are just like super friendly and they love us and they're invested in our best interest. But that's not the case, right? So I think when it comes to this is going to be a saga, I would say, at least for the next couple months, if not for the next year. I'm going to try to track it closely and see if this saga dies out, if this narrative has any steam behind it. But from my objective opinion, this narrative is getting a lot of steam, like a lot. The idea that Palantir is creating a surveillance state, which is blatantly untrue, false, and stupid, it is picking up massive momentum. And I hope it dies down, but I don't know, and I can only do so much as an independent content creator to kind of push back against the narrative. But it's going to be something that we have to watch out for. Now, is it going to be a massive impact on the stock? I don't know. I don't think it's going to really take down the stock that much, but I do think it's going to be one of those things that could potentially hurt the brand. We talk about brand damage with Tesla. It's not good to have a brand that's being seen as the evil surveillance state. Like, no one wants to have that type of brand. And that could be something to watch out for when it comes to Palantir. But yeah, we will, keep going from there. And again, that doesn't mean everything that the New York Times says is absolutely horrible. But when the New York Times has their agenda and they want to push their agenda, the New York Times did a profile on Karp a year ago. It was a great profile on Karp. It was good. Like, it was an objective profile. They talked about different aspects of Palantir, his journey to building all this stuff. But then when they want to get their clicks, to get their advertising revenue, to really ramp up their agenda, that's when they publish stuff like this. That's just not true. I'm not even saying that it's wrong for them to put out their opinion. Go ahead, put out whatever opinion you want. But like the facts they're using in this shit is just false. Palantir doesn't steal any data. They're not like this narrative was from 2017. This is to invest in Palantir. You have to understand they don't even have American data. They have software that actually works with the data. They don't like find a way to be the boogeyman and stay underneath your mattress and find a way to take your data and then manipulate. Like that's just not what's going on. And if we want to go to a world where there's no more big data platforms anywhere, especially in the government, it was funny. I was getting dinner with a friend the other day, and they were talking because they live in DC about how many big data firms in DC are necessary for them to even do their job, because if they didn't have big data, they wouldn't be able to effectively get through the core functions of all these different agencies that do things for Americans. Like Palantir is just big data. There's not a surveillance state data. So look, it is what it is, but this narrative I don't think is going to leave anytime soon, and it's something that all of us need to watch out for as well. Cool. Yeah. So the event ultimately was awesome. I'm gonna try to get this clip. I have it saved on my computer, and I just want to show you guys one of these clips of Mike Gallagher. It was really, really. Can I play it right? Do I have it right here? I think I saved it right here. I just want to show you guys one of these because it was a podcast where it's like, oh, this guy is like, this guy is like having fun. We did a podcast where he had fun. It wasn't like an interview. It was more so just one of these podcasts where he was ready to, engage on a lot of different topics and perspectives. I'll see if I can get the clip. I feel like I have it saved in a different folder, and we'll pull it up. And then we'll look at it. But yeah, outside of that, the event was awesome. It was super cool. I did talk to Iliano about the merch. Let me just play that video real quick because I know a lot of you guys have been asking me about the merch. So here is what Mr. Iliano said about the merch. And then we will get into all the headlines that we got today.
Hey guys, so I'm at the AI Expo in DC. Everyone's been asking me a question. Where's the merch? What you're rocking merch, but retail is left hanging? Like
we're working on it every day. That's all I think about.
Now, don't give me the politically correct response. When is the merch coming? When is it happening?
There will be merch widely available. Mark my words. There will be merch widely available by the end of this month.
There we go.
I won't say exactly when, but by the end of this month, there will be merch.
All right. What's the difference between this merch and the last merch?
It's all custom made. We're making everything from scratch. Everything down to the label will be Palantir. Everything is made in the USA. We've increased the quality. I think when I first opened the store, the focus was on like, okay, how can we make things for as cheap as possible, get as many people Palantir gear for as cheap as possible. But I think I wasn't really thinking so much about quality, but then it sort of hit me one day. It's like, Palantir software isn't cheap, but it's the best. So we don't want to make cheap software or cheap merch. We want to make the best merch. So that's, I think, the biggest difference. I think people will be really happy with I don't want to ruin the surprise, but the experience of receiving the merch will also be very differentiated, and it's going to be special. So
End of June, we are getting the Palantir merch. Here is one of the Mike Gallagher clips from the pod yesterday. Again, this guy is he's a fun guy.
AI in the age of China.
I heard of it.
Yeah.
You
work at a company that's, doing pretty good with AI. A lot of the tech executives, including
my wife thinks I work at Peloton. She's waiting for her bike. Yeah. Like,
well,
where's my fitness bike? I'm
you don't skip leg day. You're looking good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I did do squats when I was in Singapore. Okay. Rule number 1, if you work with Eliana, never skip leg day.
Oh, I know.
They're like Xi Jinping's fears. We ranked him earlier. It's his own people, the United States military, and my ability to squat over 450 pounds.
AI in the
Dude, he was such a bro. It's you guys are going to love this podcast. People are going to love hearing from him. He was cool, dude. He was pretty freaking cool. So I think that'll be a fun one. Hopefully it'll be out soon. And then we'll keep going from there. But yeah, overall event was awesome. I'll be back there again today. And yeah, it was a fun event, and we got some more stuff coming on later this week. And yeah, you guys will see that. But I don't think there's anything else crazy happening today. I got some pictures from the booth. I'll show you guys that stuff later. But outside of that, nothing too crazy. Okay, cool. So that was yesterday. Today is a new day, and today we did have some crazy stuff happen. So let's get into the HIMS discussion of everything going on. HIMS acquired a company. It's up 7.45% right now. in the pre-markets. And what company did they acquire? Well, it's a company that's essentially going to expand their role across the entire world, particularly in Europe. And it's going to be significantly establishing a presence in Germany, France, and Ireland. Now, one of the reasons I think they want to go to Ireland is because they want to make sure that their customer base keeps Dublin. And so that to me was a opportunistic reason for Andrew Dudum to do this. He says this today: fresh off our largest capital raise to date. Today, we're announcing plans to acquire Zava, a leading digital health platform in Europe. This acquisition strengthens our leadership in the UK and establishes a presence in Germany, France, and Ireland, significantly accelerating our international expansion with additional markets on the horizon. Our ambition is clear: to build one of the world's first truly global healthcare platforms, seamless, affordable, and built around the individual. With this move, we are scaling faster and expanding access to high-quality, personalized care to millions more people around the world. Wherever you are, whoever you are, a better care should be within reach, and this is only the beginning. Dude, first of all, I don't own stock. I did not buy the $50 dip. I did sell a put, which is doing very well. I sold a $45 put. I don't have anything negative to say about it. I don't think you can. I mean, these guys are just finding more ways to execute, and it's kind of fun to see how they're doing it. Like it really is. So right now, Hims has 2.4 million current subscribers. They're going to get 1.3 million from Zava. So they're getting 1.3 million. That's going to be 3.7 million total. And that expansion into Germany, France, and Ireland, if they can have the same type of marketing that they've deployed in the United States as aggressively as they do in these European countries, eventually their marketing costs will come down because their brand loyalty will be so strong. And if they can get that average revenue per user to keep going up inside of these places, I mean, again, it's not a tech company, but it's kind of functioning like a tech company, right? The only thing people can point to is that they're spending so much on marketing, but that eventually goes down as they build all this brand loyalty with people that consistently want to give them this reoccurring revenue. It's good, man. It's really good. Like it's a great acquisition. The reason I like this acquisition in particular is because, to me, as someone who doesn't own the stock, so I'm trying to be as objective as I can here, international expansion is a big deal. Like when a company begins to expand internationally, that's basically saying, no, we have worldwide ambitions. We have ambitions that are like not relegated to the United States, which is one of the best capital markets in the world, but we want to go international. We want to attack every single part of the market. This is also what happened with Robinhood last night. Robinhood officially acquired Bitstamp. So this is a company around June of last year. This time they were acquiring $250 million. And yesterday the acquisition officially closed. So this acquisition brings Bitstamp's globally scaled crypto exchange to Robinhood with retail and institutional customers across the EU, UK, US, and Asia. The strategic combination between positions Robinhood to expand outside of the US and bring a trusted and reputable institutional business to Robinhood. So it's officially done. It's officially done. And I think they acquired about $5 billion of assets under custody, and they only paid $250 million. And they have one of the oldest institutional platforms. Most of Bitstamp's volumes are actually institutional, which is very cool, right? Because Robinhood is such a retail heavy based platform. I'll give you guys the exact stat right here. The exact stat is 50. So their Bitstamp's total revenues over the past 12 months were 95 million. This is coming from Robinhood's website. So they're bringing over like another $100 million in revenue, which is going to be really good. And they're spending about 200 million in cash. And the costs are going to be about 65 million over the next 7 months. That's what I'm looking at from the website. So, and I think there was another, here right here, international crypto exchange with over 50 active licenses and registrations globally. So 50 different markets globally that they're expanding to. So I'm bringing this up in the context of Hims because, dude, if Robinhood's going after crypto across the entire world and not just staying stuck in the United States, which they have a great business. They're doing $74 billion of volume every quarter around about of crypto just in the States. If they want to get ambitious to go across the rest of the world, that just shows this is a company that's not slowing down and their ambitions are not slowing down. And with Hims, I mean, dude, if they're going to bring the magic they've run to the United States, which has worked very effectively from the growth rates, to the rest of the world, I mean, who's to stop them from going to India? Who's to stop them from going to Singapore? Who's to stop them from going to Africa? I mean, there's so many different parts of the world that could be using their products. At the end of the day, it's all universal issues that every single human struggles with. I really like it. I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, there's going to be intense competition in other parts of the world, right? Because there's other places that have hair loss pills. But the whole point of Hims, if you believe there is any resemblance of a moat, is that their marketing and their product is simply going to be better than all the other ones that are across the world. And if that's the case, then that's not a horrible thing. And I think that's going to be very exciting for them. By the way, everyone's saying, what is brung? Brung is a word. It might not be in the dictionary, but you guys know what brung means. It means brought. It just, in a different way. Brung, everyone has used the word brung before. It is a word. It might be in the Urban Dictionary, not the real dictionary, but it absolutely is a word. And all of you guys have used that word before. It's brang. Yeah, it's brang. It's brang, exactly. No, but in general, dude, this is good. This is a really good acquisition. I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense. We'll have Nate on in about an hour and he'll explain it even deeper. But I like it. I think it makes sense. And, I still think Hims is cheap, even at 61. I just felt like the momentum was getting a bit aggressive. Would I buy it here? I don't know. I think maybe we'll get some better entry points again, but maybe we don't. And at a $12 billion market cap, you can't really ask for that many amazing entry points with the way they're growing, which is why I think people keep saying this thing is probably going to go to 100 quicker than a lot of other stocks. And I can't deny that, because at 100, it would be worth what? 24 billion, a little bit less than that. Like that's not that aggressive for the multiple that this stock is putting up in terms of growth. So incredible stuff. Hims right here up about 7.5%. We'll talk more about the acquisition later, but that one is doing very well. And they are getting some strong momentum on this. Meta and Constellation Energy. That was the next big headline of the day. Let me pull that up real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Hoodie. But that broke this morning, and it looks like the street's excited about that. Constellation Energy up about 11% in the pre-markets.
And Pippa Stevens is here with more. What's going on?
Good morning, Andrew. Well, Meta is inking a nuclear power deal with Constellation Energy, signing a 20-year agreement today to buy all of the power generated at Constellation's Clinton Clean Energy Center in Illinois, which has one nuclear reactor, beginning in 2027. The companies didn't say how much Meta is investing, but they did say without the backing, the plant would have been in danger of closing in 2 years. This nuclear plant is not going to power a Meta data center directly. Instead, it will continue to power the regional grid while helping Meta reach its goal of 100% clean electricity. This is just the latest instance of hyperscalers teaming up with nuclear as their energy needs grow thanks to data centers. Alphabet is funding the development of 3 nuclear sites and partnered with Kairos Power to develop SMRs. Microsoft signed a 20-year deal with Constellation that will restart 3 Mile Island. Amazon also backing SMRs and bought a data center powered by a nuclear plant. Now, today marks Meta's first nuclear deal, but it likely won't be the last. In December, the company said it's looking for partners to add 1 to 4 gigawatts of new nuclear to the grid. And so this is just one part of their overall nuclear strategy.
I know they didn't release the terms of the deal, but is this billions of dollars you think that are being plowed into this?
So if we look at the Constellation and 3 Mile Island deal back in September, Microsoft paid over 100 megawatt hours, $100 per megawatt hour for that power, which is about double where power prices are currently trading. And so it is a very good deal for Constellation and ensures that longevity. And so they are probably paying above market because nuclear is the only baseload emissions-free form of power. And
Bullish for Meta. Bullish for energy, bullish for Meta. I expect all the hyperscalers to engage in the same thing. Folks, we got some breaking news before we get a little deeper into Hood. This broke about 15 minutes ago. Here we go. Is Google down in the pre-markets? Because this would explain why Googs is down. Googs is down in the pre-markets. All right, here we go. Google is one of the most undervalued companies, but these headlines, bro, they are dead. This is what I mean about Palantir, right? This is what I'm talking about, this whole surveillance state stuff. Like that narrative it could get annoying if it starts to pop up and actually affect the stock. I don't think it's going to affect the stock, but definitely isn't the best for that narrative to propagate. Here you go. Apple is reportedly planning to adopt Perplexity as an alternative to Google search on the iPhone, as well as a replacement for ChatGPT integration for Siri. Okay, so that's not good for Google because they're losing massive distribution on the iPhone. We all kind of knew this was happening. We don't know if this is going to officially happen, but obviously based on the trials and what Eddie Q said 3 weeks ago, it kind of seemed like Google was definitely going to not, from an antitrust perspective, going to be able to renew their deal with Apple. So that's not good. Number 2, super bullish Perplexity. I mean, like super, super, super freaking bullish Perplexity. If Perplexity actually gets 2 things, not just the Apple search product, but also Apple's Siri integration. If they don't go with ChatGPT, they go with Perplexity. I mean, it's not the best. It's not the worst thing in the world for that company. That company's worth like $15 billion. if they really do land an Apple deal, which the regulators would be okay with because it's not like Google landing that deal. Yeah, I think Perplexity gets closer to like 30, 40 billion if they actually get that deal and get the distribution to 2 billion people. And if they're like the kind of sole provider that Apple has as the default, because most people won't switch from the default. So yeah, good. But see, we did kind of know this news like 2 weeks ago. I guess like the headlines being reinforced this morning. It's not like it's breaking news because we found this out a couple weeks ago. So this is the thing about Google. It's like it's down 1%, but we already knew this. Like it's not like this is something that we didn't know was definitely going to happen. Maybe Apple's getting more serious about it, which is why we got another headline this morning. But this thing was at one, like this, this stock was at 175 a couple of days ago. And there is no reason for it to go down to 160. Nothing has changed in the past 10 days for it to go down to 167 again. And if it goes below 160, it's just going to get stupid at this point. So I don't know. I think we just got to wait till Q2 for Google, and they've just got to really show that other parts of the business are growing independent of search. And if they do, Street should respect it to the point where they at least give them a 20x multiple on 2026 earnings, which would get the stock closer to 200, which is where I think, like forget fair value. That's just like where it should be. Fair value is probably closer to like 220, 230. But this is going to be an ongoing saga that we have to see how this plays out. Hims right here up 9.2%, folks. My goodness. All right, let's talk about Robinhood. Let's talk about Robinhood as well. Robinhood and Hims both going at it today. Robinhood 69.90. I don't know if we see 70 in the pre-markets, but there is a shot. Why is this happening? Okay, there's a couple things. Number one, they finished their Bitstamp acquisition yesterday. We talked a little bit about that. That's super bullish. Number two, there's an S&P inclusion announcement on Friday. And I can't say they're going to get in, but based on some of the data I've looked at, just that like dark pool data, which we talked about yesterday, hundreds of millions of dollars of stock are being bought on the dark pool. Maybe it's for S&P inclusion, maybe it's not. Maybe someone knows something, maybe not. The $70 call options for August have been on fire. If you look at some of the option flows, I mean, when you put all these things together, along with the fact that what other company in the market really deserves it, that's eligible. Hims is not eligible yet. They need like another 10 billion in market cap. But out of all the eligible companies, it's Hood. It's Hood. Just like on pure innovation and execution alone, it's obviously Robinhood. So this should be very exciting. And, so Amit, remember Palantir inclusion last year? That was awesome. I do. But one of the reasons I think Robinhood might not get in on Friday is because we all thought Palantir would get in June of 2024. And they picked Deckers and CrowdStrike over Palantir. And then Palantir had to wait till September. So I don't know, dude. I mean, could they make us wait until September? Yes, but it's definitely happening, in my opinion, this year. It would just be fun if it happens in June versus September, and we don't have to wait another 3 months. But that's why I think the stock's gapping up. I mean, there's no fundamental reason. It's not like Bitcoin's hitting an all-time high. It's not like the S&P is, although we had a great close yesterday on the S&P, dude. We got back to 592, which was great. We were up 0.5% after being down almost 1%. So but the market's not exploding to the point where like Robinhood has to follow that. This is like purely people are buying Hood stock independent of everything else. And I think that's because of S&P inclusion. And if that's the case, then 70 is on the way, folks. I think 70 is absolutely on the way. So it will be good as well. Yesterday, Perplexity made a deal with Samsung. I sold Google, too many headwinds right now. I think I saw that headline after the market opened, that Perplexity made a deal with Samsung. So you are correct about that. By the way, we get JOLTS at 10 a.m. today. So that'll be important, especially for the unemployment market and the broader perception of jobs right now. Look, I think Perplexity working with Samsung is still not a reason to sell Google. I get it. I get how that headline feels scary. So Perplexity is in talks with Samsung on pre-installing Perplexity on Samsung devices, starting with the Galaxy S26. Obviously, Google tends to be the default search engine on a lot of these Galaxy or a lot of these Samsung devices, any of these Android devices. But that doesn't mean that Samsung has to keep Google, right? So it's different things they can experiment with. But I don't think that means you sell Google, or at least I personally don't think that means Google at these prices doesn't deserve a bid. But we've been saying it for the past couple of months. It's like, look, narratives drive. This is why in the debate that I had on SoFi, it was interesting where they were like, we spent too much time talking about the market's perception. I'm like, dude, the whole point of the debate was the market's perception. The whole point was like, why is SoFi not getting a multiple? So, when I saw people complain like, oh, you guys talked about the stock too much, I was like, well, what were we supposed to talk about? Because if the stock was $25, no one would be having that. We wouldn't even have had a discussion because no one would care. You say, oh, the market respects SoFi. It's good. Time to move on. Everyone made their money. The whole point is that, hey, everyone thinks it's 50% undervalued. Here's why. And then we talked about market perceptions. And at least the market perception on Google is that search is dying, or at least that's how they're being priced. And anything Google does is not good enough to be able to to navigate that headline. I don't think that's the reality. I do think there are certain parts of that are real, but that is not the whole story. But nonetheless, that's how the market's kind of thinking of it right now. Robin at 69.90. She's toying with us. 69.95. It was 5 cents away. We got 8 minutes until the market open. It's either going to dump or pump through 70 as soon as the market opens. And we're going to see in the next 10 minutes kind of how this ends up playing out. So we will keep an eye. We will keep an eye on Hood as well. Did we have Dollar General earnings today? Okay, we did. Q1 earnings, 10.4 versus 10.28 billion. That's a beat. Adjusted EPS 178 versus 147. That's a beat. Fiscal year 2025 guidance, they raised it. Wow. To 4.7% from 3.7%, or 3.7 to 4.7 versus 3.4 to 4.4. So they raised it by 0.3. Dollar General stock right here. Wow, it's up 8%, dude. Holy crap. Looks like the market liked that earnings. There you go. It was at 108. Now it's at 105 on these numbers. By the way, guys, real quick, shout out to Cactus Jack. He is a new mod on the channel. You guys have probably seen his comments pinned on the screen so many times because he's super, super helpful in getting information out to me really quickly. So yeah, he's a new mod on the channel, and he is someone I can trust that when he puts something in the chat, it's not someone saying, oh, Palantir did $4 billion of revenue on earnings, and then I look like an idiot when I say that in front of 15,000 people. So I kind of need, someone who I can trust when they put out some numbers here. So shout out to Cactus Jack. Whenever he puts something in the chat, you guys can definitely trust that he's putting accurate numbers here. And that's what we have on DG. Austin as well says, expect tariffs to result in some price increases as last resort saw highest percentage of trading customers over the last 4 years. That's what the Dollar General CEO said. All right, so it seems like he's not sounding the alarm on tariffs. He is saying that, hey, there's going to be some price increases that will affect customers, but not enough to get the market to feel afraid that Dollar General is not going to be able to navigate it. Stock's up 9% right here. So it looks like the market does enjoy it. Hims right here up 8.3%, and then Robinhood 2.79%. Hims 61.55, all-time high was 72, so it hasn't hit that again. I think it hit 65 a couple weeks ago. And then Robinhood, if we get to 70, all-time high is 85, but that 7 in front of the stock is going to be sexy. That 7 in front of the stock is going to be sexy. So we're going to see if that can end up playing out. Okay, a couple other things as we got 5 minutes until we get into the open. Fear and Greed's at 54. That's actually good because that's down from 69 where it was. Oh, now we're in neutral, folks. We're not even in greed anymore, which is nice to see. This is Tom Lee's point about a new bull market. Like a bull market can't happen if you're in, or a new bull market can't happen if you're in extreme greed. But if you're in neutral, there's room to run. So if we somehow stay in this neutral range going into the summer, we probably have another leg up, which would be 6,500 on the S&P. That's what I think seems like what most people think is very possible. And if that's the case, I don't think we get to 7,000 this year, but I think 6,500 it would be a very healthy year for everyone. And it would be exciting because we had a massive opportunity to buy the dip in the midst of that year itself. So that's what we got going on in the context of some of those pre-market moves. Again, we talked about Hims and Zava. Oh, here's something that was interesting. Piper Sandler, they're continuing to say buy Tesla and give it a $400 price target. And the reason they're saying that is because they believe robotaxis are going to change everything. So today is June 3rd. Robotaxis should be coming out in the next couple weeks. And a lot of some of these firms are saying, all right, we believe the story's happening. We think it's gonna take place. The last sentence of their note this morning was Tesla has a plan. So they're kind of trusting Elon that robotaxis are going to be ready to take off. Elon's going to figure it out. He's going to be able to make that scale happen. And if he does, then you get a stock that maybe is able to bust through some of these levels. Tesla right here at 346. It's been kind of stuck in that 330 to 350 range. It would not surprise me if we break out from 350 and we kind of settle in around 375. It would also not surprise me if the robotaxi launch is kind of subpar, kind of a bit sell the news. People are not that excited about it, and we kind of gap back down to 320, 330. But staying in this range, I think as a Tesla shareholder, you can't be upset because Q2 earnings are not going to be good. Q1 earnings kind of sucked, and just holding some of this momentum is better than losing it, or better than aggressively going up and not being able to sustain that either. So I think that's important for Tessie. Triple V, thank you for the $100 super chat. For those that don't know, Triple V has a lot of Robinhood In fact, when we found out that Brad Gerstner bought $120 million of Robinhood, he texted me. You guys were live with me on that market close, and he said, wait a second. Do I have more Robinhood than Brad Gerstner? And the answer is yes, he does, based on some of the screenshots that I've seen. So shout out to him. He should be up like a lot of money right now in the pre-markets. And if we can bust through 70, then he will continue to see it. 69.99. Holy crap. Holy crap. They're doing this 3 minutes before the market open, bro. They're not going to give it 70. Will they give it 70 before the market opens? I think they might. They might try to. They might try to, but we're going to see. We're going to see if that plays out. Nvidia pump. Is Nvidia pumping a little bit in the pre-markets? Nvidia, yeah, it's up about 1%, 138.64. Up about 1% as well. So in about 2 minutes, we're gonna see Triple P will get hood into the S&P 500 this week. Dude, it would be big for a lot of people, dude. It would be big for a lot of people. Obviously, it would be huge for Vlad and the company, and they just grinded their asses off to get here. So I'm gonna be at the airport during that time, but there's gonna be a 20-minute moment before my flight where I will go live. Hopefully, the Wi-Fi is not trash. I'm gonna use my hotspot. Hopefully, that's okay, and then we're gonna try to see 5:15 p.m. Eastern. 5:15 p.m. Eastern is when we get the results. And we're going to see kind of how that plays out. CoreWeave, is that pumping as well as we get into the open? That is pumping. CoreWeave right here up 5%, 125.70. What about Nebius? Nebius right here is up about 1.78%. You got a lot of the high flyers. Palantir was number 3 in options traded yesterday. It was NVIDIA, Tesla, and Palantir. That's another reason I think Palantir is holding its multiple. The options market is just continuing to trade it, and that means there needs to be buyers if it's going to be traded as much as it's traded, independent of if those buyers even care about the stock or care about the valuation or care about the company. So you did have Palantir that was number 3 in the options trades yesterday. Robinhood right here, 69.96. We got 30 seconds, folks. 30 seconds until this market opens. Again, I do not have my bell. So we are going to be using a pre-recorded bell to open up the markets. But regardless, must be open. And that's what we're going to do. All right, here we go. 10 seconds. Thank you, everybody, for being here. 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. All right, wake your ass up. Let's get into it. What do we got today? Robinhood 69.73. No, we touched 70. Did we touch it? We touched it like for a millisecond, bro. We did. It says we touched 70. It says we touched it, but it was like, I think we got to really see 70 again. We did touch it though, folks. We did touch it. 52-week high is 70. It's recorded, but it barely was. Whatever was at 70 got bought and then sold immediately. 69.60. Let's see if we get back. We got to get back there. That was a little bit too quick on the 70. So we touched it for a second. I want to see us get a little bit above that. So let's give it some time. But 2.24% on Robinhood, 69.55. Did hit 70 for a little bit. I think it'll be back there. If we broke through 70 as soon as the market opened, we should be able to get back there. S&P opens up green, 593. HIM, 61.61. That's up 8.5%. 8.5% on HIMS. There you go. Joby's up 14%. Okay, what's the news with Joby, bro? Holy crap. 14%. That's up. D-Wave. Martin Shkreli short, not working out, man. At least not yet. 1.37%. Quantum continues to do well. Grab right here is up 488. I did buy some more Grab yesterday. I'll tell you guys in a second what I bought, but I did buy some more Grab. Dutch Bros is up 2.1%. You got Palantir 133 back to 133. That's up 1%. Robinhood, I think it's going to go back to 70, 69.70 currently right here. NVIDIA 138.93. That's up 1.2%. CoreWeave up 4.5%. 126 on CoreWeave. All-time high is 130 on CoreWeave. Nebius 36.53. That's green. Google is still red by about 1%. Meta's up about 1%. Constellation Energy with that new Meta deal, that's up 1% as well. Where is the lab of rockets? Rocket Lab back up 5%. Rocket Lab, I did see the headline today. It was one of their launch missions. It was like they launched like 60. They launched their 10th Black Sky mission and they hit their 65 missions total for Electron flights. So this morning they completed their 65th Electron launch, which was their 10th Black Sky mission, and that's why the stock, I believe, is up 4.3% right now, getting some momentum. Robinhood 69.83. She wants a 70, a real 70, not just like a touch 70. I think she wants a real 70. So let's see I mean, look, if she broke through 70 as soon as the market opened and then got sold off, those were just some sellers that were programmed to sell, right? They just have their sell orders in. But I think there will be buyers to get us back above that. Tesla right here, 346. That's up 1%. Hims, how we are doing on Hims. Hims, wow, dude, 13% on Hims. Hims is Himothy today. Hims is freaking Himothy today. I mean, dude, there you go. I like the deal. I like it. International expansion. I have nothing to say about that. That's negative. That's like very, very strong in terms of just their overall market dominance that they're going for. That doesn't mean they're going to be successful in these other places, but that does mean they're attempting to. And the market's obviously valuing that. And it's still shorted, a lot. And I think those shorts are eventually going to have to say, hey, we might have to cover at this point, which is only going to push it up higher. Robinhood right here, 10 cents away from 70, 5 cents away from 70. Let's see if they give it to us. Let's see if they give us a real 70. And if we can get that up. Is Grab moving, by the way? Grab right here, 47. That's up about 0.5% right now. Okay, so on Grab, oh, there you go, 70. There she is, the real 70. The real 70 is here. My goodness, doesn't that look sexy, dude? Holy crap, that looks $70 on Robinhood. If I had my bell, I'd be ringing my bell, and she's busting through 70. There she goes. Whoever sold at 70 as soon as the market opened, I mean, I guess you got out of it at 70. That's fine, but this one doesn't want to stop at 70. 3.5% on the day. There she goes. She's probably going for 71, to be honest, today. We'll check resistance in a second. Man, that looks sexy, dude. You can't, that's just, oh my goodness. I'm going to take a screenshot here right now. Wow. That is, dude. It just, when you follow a stock for so long and you bought it at 7, you see it at 70. I've been really lucky to be able to experience this with Palantir, and now getting to experience this with Hood. It's cool, dude. It's very, very cool. $70.29. Let me check resistance real quick at 71. It looks like 60 might end up becoming support, folks. And if that's the case, then that would be very bullish for the overall price action. 71 is 9,700 shares. 9,700 shares, which is not crazy. Grab right here up a third of a percent. Robinhood 70, Rocket Lab 27.56, Palantir 132, CoreWeave 126, Nvidia 138, Nebius 36, Tesla up about 1%, and then Hims as well. Whereas Hims 65.74. Wow, Hims is up 15.5% on the day. 15.5% with Hims at 65. And it feels like it wants to chase Robinhood at 70. Dude, this is just incredible. Even looking at this thing, it's hard to imagine that it's at $70. I've been buying aggressively in the $60 range. I would say over the past month, I bought about 1,500 shares, just 100 shares here, 100 shares here, from 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. I think the last buy I did was 65.80. I don't know if I'm going to be buying in the 70s. I mean, someone's got to buy in the 70s, so might as well be me. But let's give it a little bit of time to normalize here if it can. Right there, back below 70. So you do have some selling pressure there. But it's incredible, dude. Just incredible. So congrats, everybody. We'll talk more about it, but there you go. Robin at $70 today. Broke out. Might not close above it. Might close above it. I think this is a lot based on speculation that S&P is coming this week. And if it doesn't, maybe we go back to 65. If it does, maybe we go to 75. But overall, the market definitely thinks that there's a shot for Robinhood this week. Rock Lab right here. Okay, so and it's actually red candles across the board. Rock Lab was up 5%. Now it's only up 2%. Robinhood getting a red candle. Tesla getting a red candle. So something right here. What's it, 9:35 a.m.? You're getting something across the entire market algorithmically. Probably that's taking everything down. Where's the S&P? S&P goes red, 0.03%. We do get Jolt State in about 30 minutes, which is going to be important. Grab 486, Him 65.92, Rocket Lab 27.10. Palantir 131. You got a red candle there on Palantir. Bitcoin is flat. Oscar Health was up 4%. Now it's up 1.9%. Misty is up a little bit on the day. So is NVDY. That's up about 0.5%. Navitas was up in the pre-markets. That one's flat. Reddit goes red. Uber goes red. AMD goes red. SoFi goes red. So pretty much everything getting a little bit of a red candle right here as we get 5 minutes into the open. VG is up 5%. There you go. VG's up. All right. Shout out to Chris and Matt. We got VG and got some natural gas going up right now. Is Trump tweeting? That's a good question. I should check that out because that was kind of all at once. Trump said Rand votes no on everything, but never has any practical or constructive ideas. His ideas are actually crazy losers. The people of Kentucky can't stand him. This is a big growth bill. Okay, so Trump is mad at Rand Paul, who is trying to push back on all the spending of the bill. And he's saying that the guy is a loser. That's what he's posting about right now. That's what we got. Hims, not stopping. Himmy Hims, 17%. My goodness. The thing about Hims and Hood this whole year, Hood, by the way, trying to get right back to 70, is that every time Hood has made a run, Hims has tried to follow. And I don't know if Hood has or Hims has separation anxiety or it's a little insecure or something, but it would not surprise me if Hims catches up to Hood and says, hey, you're not going to be stuck in the 70s, without us. And so maybe that might be what's happening up right now. So you got Hims right here, 65.50, up 15%. Robinhood probably trying to make its way right back to 70. We got to 70.40 grabs, up about 1/3%. And then Palantir just turning green, 132.04 on today. Okay, on Grab. So what did I do on Grab? I bought 75 call contracts yesterday in my Roth IRA. And I bought the $7 call for December 2027. So I did buy some more Grab yesterday. First time in a while. In my Roth, it was about 10 grand or about like 9,200. And I said, you know what? This is my Roth. This is going to grow tax-free. I have some pretty strong convictions that by the end of 2027, Grab is not going to be $7. It's going to be well above that. And so, yeah, I bought 75 call contracts on Grab above $7 strike. Paid $1.18 a premium. So theoretically, you need Grab to be around $8.30, $8.20. And yeah, that's the move I made. And I bought them when they were $4.77 yesterday. So they're up like 2% or whatever right now. But yeah, I mean, again, on Grab, for everyone that asks me every day, this is a slow mover, but we've kind of laid out the thesis that there's going to be acquisitions. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to change their trajectory of growth. It's just going to take time. And it's not moving as fast as Hims and a Hood. And, it is what it is. Some stocks don't do that. But it also has a mature thesis that I'm comfortable sleeping well at night knowing about versus being in something as volatile as something else, because my portfolio is already freaking crazy volatile with, Hood and Palantir and NVIDIA and all this stuff. But nonetheless, that's what I did on Grab yesterday. It's up about 0.5%, and we'll see if we can break through that $5 range by the end of Q2. Tesla right here, 344. Robinhood, 69.65. NVIDIA, 138.15. CoreWeave, 126.30. That one's up about 4% currently right now. What is the Google breakup news? I don't think there's any specific Google breakup news this morning. I think there's just random rumors and different headlines on the idea of it breaking up. Oh, maybe this is it. Okay, I think I'm fine. So Barclays updated their analyst report that Google. Wow. Okay, so this is what. Yeah, I think this is what. So Barclays said, hey, if Google was ordered by a judge to divest their Chrome browser, they would lose 25% of their market cap. That's the closest I have to quote unquote breakup news this morning. Barclays is a relatively big investment firm. They could, whatever they say could definitely impact Google. So that's understandable. Granted, Google right here is down about 2%. All right. So yeah, Google's actually getting hit. Trial to conclude in August. Wait a second. So, okay. So if in August, the judge orders Google to get rid of Chrome, do we think that's going to be good or bad? Because my gut reaction is I feel like that's not going to be great. Even if there is different ways that Google can, split up and maintain market share, even if they lose Chrome. But I feel like that would be bad. Now, granted, I think people think that's a low probability of happening, which I would hope. But I don't think that would be the best thing in the world. 25% of their market cap would be aggressive if they lose Chrome. Be very aggressive. Grab right here up 1%. Rocket Lab 1.3. Palantir goes green. Hoodie back above 70. Back above 70. There she goes. She's there. 71 again. I think resistance on 71 is still 9,000 shares. NVIDIA, by the way, trying to get to 139. Yeah, I think, look, if we keep the momentum today and jolts are not horrible, I think a $70 close is not crazy. People obviously are expecting this S&P thing this week. 71, 12,000 shares. 12,000 shares at 71. 12,000 shares at 71. Why is Meta red? So Meta's paying a lot of money to Constellation Energy, which is probably why they're down. Constellation's up because they're getting a lot of money. Now, granted, for Meta, it's going to be insignificant, the amount of money they're paying because of how much free cash flow they make. But That's probably why they're a little bit down on the day. All the Max 7s, though, I think are getting a little bit of a hit. Apple, slightly green, basically flat. Microsoft is flat. Google's down the most. Meta's red. And then Tesla was up about 1%. Tesla right here, up 0.5%. And then Amazon, which had some robotic news, that's up about 0.26. So all the Max 7s are pretty much flat outside of Meta and Google that are red. VG up 8.7%. What about Cheniere? Cheniere is up 0.5%. VG, I guess there's some news this morning that's causing that one to get some momentum. 12.82. This thing was like at $8 a month ago. So this one's done very well. Obviously from IPO, it's down aggressively, but people have been buying the dip as it's been stuck in the single digits. SoFi, 1365. That's down about 0.11%. Oklow's up 5%. Nuclear getting a bid, probably because of Constellation Energy. So SMR should be up. SMR is indeed up 6.2%. There you go. Nano Nuclear Energy, that one is also up 7%. So CEG gave Oklo and all the nuclear stocks a ton of momentum today. TLT's up a little bit. Bond yields are coming down just slightly on the 10-year, which is nice. Salesforce still flat on the day. TSM. Broadcom has earnings on Thursday. I will not be live to cover it, but they do have earnings, and that'll be important. And then SMCI right here is flat. Well, it's up about 0.5%, up 0.5% right here all day. MicroStrategy is pumping, or is it dumping? MicroStrategy is pumping. Okay, that's good for me because I bought Misty yesterday. So there you go. MicroStrategy 381, that's up 2.35% right now on the day. SoFi could get into the S&P 400 on Friday. I did not know that. If they do, that's great for SoFi. S&P 400 is mid caps, right? So yeah, it's mid caps. Well, HIMS already is in the HIMS is in the S&P 600, right? I think HIMS isn't one of those indices. Yeah, I mean, look, I'll be live on Friday, and so I'll cover whatever companies get into whatever index. 5:15 p.m. Eastern. That's the time to look out for. 5:15 p.m. Eastern on June 6th, this Friday. I'll be live, and we'll try to see all the different rebalances that we get across the board. By the way, is Enphase still in the S&P 500? Because I think they're going to get kicked out. If Enphase is still in the S&P 500, I think they're like number 498 or whatever. I think they're going to get hit. HIMS is in the 400 already. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Oh, yeah. HIMS got included on the last one. I forgot. Yeah, HIMS got included on the last one. HIMS 17.7%. Dude, why didn't you guys tell me to buy this at 51? You guys really, you think we're a community and shit. No one wanted to tell me, hey, Amit, $51, cheap. No one wanted to tell me. It is what it is. It is what it is. I will wait for my dip eventually when I get it. It is what it is. I'm pissing off so many people. Dude, my portfolio is already really volatile, bro. Like, it's like, you gotta, I'm really happy for you guys, but like, and the most I would have bought is like maybe 100 shares. Like, I wouldn't even be like, I'm getting to the point where when I build a position, bro, I want to really build a position. And it's not like I was going to buy 1,000 shares of HIMS. And, 100 shares, it would have been nice to just own it for the sake of owning it. But like, do you guys feel that, right? Like when you have a one stock in your portfolio, it's just like you get to the point where you don't even want to see something if it's not an actual position. And that, that's another reason I just really didn't aggressively want to take advantage of that $51 debt. But nonetheless, dude, that doesn't mean HIMS is going to wait for me. That doesn't mean it's going to stay stuck there. If they're going to acquire companies and do what they're doing, they're gonna make moves, and the stock is still 34% short. I mean, like, if you're short and you're seeing this move today, do you double down? Like, do you actually double down up 17%? And you say, oh, the expansion to Ireland is not going to be doubling their revenues, right? Like, or do you say, no, it's time for me to stop? Like, I've been playing with fire too much, and we gotta move on from this. So, I don't know. We're gonna see. But HIMS right here, up 17%. Absolutely incredible day for this stock. Enphase, where's Enphase right now? Enphase is 41.34. That's up a little bit on the day. Let me pull up a list of S&P 500 companies. Because we can easily see which companies are going to get kicked out. We should be able to easily see them. Yeah, look. So, okay, here it is. Yeah, Enphase is at the bottom of the list. But there's a bunch of these that have been horrible performers this year as well. I'll try to organize them by percentage gains this year as well, year to date. Because the ones that are down the most, that have lost the most amount of market cap and value, those are the ones that are most likely, to get booted. And then we can kind of see, hey, would the S&P pick a financial like a Hood to get in as well. Palantir right here, 132.60. That's up about 0.5%. Nvidia, are we trying to go for 140? Are we trying to go for 140? And there she goes. Look at Hoodie. 70.5. She's right back where she was. Again, resistance is 12,000. And then we'll check Nvidia in a second. Samar says, I'm new here. When are we guessing Hood will be included in the S&P? We are speculating, Samar, that maybe on Friday, Hood will be announced as one of the companies that gets included. And then they would get rebalanced in about 3 weeks. But if they get announced, then, I think this thing gaps up to 75, or at least it holds 70. But that would be a lot of buying. I mean, that would be a lot of front running. And we saw this with Palantir. I mean, we've been through this, all of us as a community. We saw what happened, and the company never looked back. Now, the only difference between Palantir and Hood right here is Hood, again, is a little bit more cyclical than Palantir because they are contingent on the market. But the more they diversify, the more they're able to just grow other parts of the business, like Robinhood Strategies. That's an independent part of the business. That has nothing to do with the market. I mean, to an extent it does, but like the fact that already has 75,000 customers is amazing. In 2 months, bro, in 2 freaking months, like that's like companies don't grow like that unless they really have world-changing products. And then the Bitstamp acquisition, that's going to add a ton of more revenue from an institutional volume side and services side to Robinhood outside of just retail trading crypto. So you do have a lot of different diversification that's going on. At 140 for NVIDIA, there's 453,000 shares. 453,000 shares for NVIDIA at $140. So we got to see if someone's willing to buy all of those shares. Chris said, send me a link. Chris, I am sending you a link. Let's get Chris's thoughts today on the show. By the way, we got Jolts in about 10 minutes. So while Chris is on, we'll take a look at Jolts. Manohar, thank you for the $75 super chat. Appreciate this. Amit, your live buying is turning lucky for me. Last time you bought CoreWeave and Hims and see where they are now. Please buy SoFi today. Manohar, you were the one who gave me the $100 for CoreWeave, right? And I think you gave me the $50 for Hims, 52, when I bought that one share of Hims. I did sell the CoreWeave share a little bit too early, but first of all, thank you for the super chat, Manohar. I appreciate it. I don't know if me buying SoFi is going to change anything. I mean, SoFi is in a different angle, but I mean, look, you gave me the $75, so I kind of have to do it right here. So how many shares of that is for SoFi? That's what, 5 shares? Yeah, about 5 shares. All right, here we go. Bought 5 shares of SoFi. I don't know if my buy is going to change much, but if it does, then look, I've still got my options, bro. I would really love if this thing pumps to 20. It'll be very nice. So there you go. 5 SoFi shares in the books. 1357 SoFi right here, down about 1%. Hims down 16. Enphase up 1. Nvidia 139.45. MicroStrategy 379. Tessie 345. Amazon 207. Goog still down 1.5. S&P goes green. Very nice. Palantir 131. CoreWeave 129. And then Robinhood right here 69.55. Down about 2.2% here right now. Someone just dumped a huge amount of Hood. Yeah, I mean, look, there's going to be some selling pressure here. It's not like Hood's going to have a straight line to 75. There's definitely going to be some bumps in the road to get there, even to hold 70. But if we could, that would be nice. And it doesn't have to happen today, especially because you might have some random macro stuff that plays out. But it would be nice to even get kind of close to holding it. AMD, where's AMD today? That is slightly green, not really following NVIDIA. All the nuclear stocks are still up. Tesla is up 1%. Microsoft and Apple are flat. Rocket Lab kind of losing. If Rocket Lab is up 5%, it's losing most of that. Palantir, Palantir has been holding 130 all week, which is pretty incredible. So, Palantir up or down is whatever, but it's holding 130, 180 right now, basically 132. Quantum slightly red. D-Wave's down a little bit. Rigetti is down about 1%. And then IONQ is down about 0.4. Dude, look, the thing about Skrelly shorts is, although his thesis might not be horrible in terms of how he's coming up with it, he might just not be right on the pricing and the timing of it. He really might not. And if that's the case, he's not going to be in the best situation. By the way, I'm going to have Tess from the chat. You guys probably see her every day. She's been part of the channel for like 3 years. She is big on quantum, and she bought D-Wave at like $4, maybe even lower than that. So she will be on next Monday on the market close, next Monday. So once I'm back next Monday, she'll be on the market close, and she'll give us the bull case. We heard the bear case from Skrelly. We'll hear the bull case from her. And, so far she's been right. And maybe she's wrong in the future, but she's been right. And even if she's wrong in the future, that future could be years from now, and Skrelly could be underwater on his shorts for years because he needs the stock to go down for him to make money. So, or she might end up being right, and D-Wave's going to, $50, and he's really going to, need to borrow some money from his billionaire friends. So this is going to be a very exciting saga to see how it plays out. But we will get that bull case next Monday as well, and get some different perspectives. Christopher Patel, good morning.
Dude, today is a good morning because Venture Global is up nicely. I told you, well, did I tell you? I went kind of reckless when it came to Venture Global's options when it dipped down to the $7 to $8.
You always go reckless. I
don't.
You go six figures, multi six figures, and you're just in it.
I did go multi six figures. I have almost quadruple digit contracts on this thing.
Well, I'm the same with Grab, bro. You're a bad influence on me. This is what you did to me with Grab.
They're all spread, so it's not like oh my god, I'm still doing really well, but it's just dude,
okay, hold on. Can we back up? Why is this up 11%? Can you explain?
So they just got approval for their third facility to go ahead with construction. So they're already on the prowl to start getting that running. So by Q1 of 2027, they are going to be the largest LNG liquefier in the country, basically. And so they're going to be generating so much cash flow at that point. So
put in the chat if you have VG. Put in the chat if you hold VG.
Yeah. So that was just, it was like me and Matt, we discussed it more than a few times on Cashflow Chronicles. I of course discussed it on my Patreon. Like the other one that's really done well is Next Decade, if you want to check that. So, these were easy plays to make. If you look at what happened with Next Decade, it dropped all the way down to the $4 last year when the Biden administration basically put a pause on a lot of the approvals. And then when the Trump administration came, they kind of rewrote the entire thing and said, you know what, we're going to allow a lot more of these things going forward. And Venture Global was ready. They had all the sites. They've got financing. We are waiting on a lot more long-term SPA contracts with Venture Global, but they're doing well. They're going to do well over long term. So for me, Venture Global, even though it may be a short to medium term play when it comes to their options, because like I said, I loaded the boat on their options. The reason why I did it was so that I could leverage the crap out of it, get as much capital appreciation, and then eventually sell those options and buy the stock and then hold the stock super long term. Because I think this one is going to be just a money printing machine for the next 15 to 20 years, where about 25% will go towards debt reduction every year. 25% will go to share buybacks. 25% will go to maintenance, CapEx, and all the other stuff. And then another 25% will go to dividends, just like LNG. Do you know Cheniere? Cheniere did the same exact thing. So the business model is very profitable. It's a tolled business. So you make money regardless of the volatility and the underlying price of natural gas. I mean, the stock is going to fluctuate here and there, but it's a great business model. So
the reason I really like this is because it's another win for retail, dude. I've seen no one on mainstream media, on CNBC or Bloomberg, talking about Venture freaking Global. You just don't see that. It doesn't get covered like NVIDIA every day. So this is the cool thing about the community, when you and a Matt and a Steve can use your basically 30, 40 years of experience in investing and specifically in natural gas and come together and see that there's an opportunity here. It's really cool because a lot of people get to benefit from that.
Yeah, just one thing to know about Venture Global, just so everyone here in the comments understands. Venture Global is already generating free cash flow. They're already doing everything. But the real value in Venture Global is not what they're currently generating. It's what they're going to be generating literally 10 years from now. And then the multiple that you can put on that. And then they do have a lot of debt on the balance sheet, but that's what a lot of infrastructure businesses are, right? You take a lot of capital, a lot of debt on in the front end, so that this way you can generate a nice return for the next 15, 20 years. And the thing is that debt, of course, it's going to look bad on the balance sheet, but that's like investing in any business. You're going to invest in a business, they're going to take debt. they're going to make money on that debt, and they're going to slowly pay down the debt, and at the same time use the profits that you have on top of the debt to generate value for shareholders. And like if you look at Cheniere did the same thing. Cheniere at one point was like a $5 to $10 stock. Now it's $250, and it's got a dividend, and it's buying back shares because it's got almost $6 billion in free cash flow.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah, I when I think of VG, I think of more of it as just buy and hold for a long time, right? That's how you think of it as well. You're just doing the options to get the capital to continue doing that.
Yeah.
Nvidia right here. Did we touch 140? There. Oh, where there we? Yeah.
Dude, this is so cool to see Nvidia, but it's kind of sad to see Google getting absolutely demolished, even though technically they're the ones that really started the AI revolution. They also have their own chips and all the other stuff, but they're not getting the credit for it. So everyone is so fixated on the search business that Google's trading at like I think a 17 multiple, man. It's this is how the market is sometimes. And you're right. It is sometimes it's more sentiment than reality. Because I mean, Google still generates a ton of free cash flow, buys back a ton of shares, you know. So there's value there. It's just I wonder.
It's tough because in the beginning of the year, if someone looked at Nvidia and Google, and they picked Google because they thought Nvidia was, you know, whatever reasons they had bear cases for Nvidia, not even bear cases, just like, hey, Google's more cheap. It would have not worked out for the past 5 months, you know, and that's the sad part. And it should have worked. Both should have worked out very nicely. And Google has just been disrespected over and over and over again. Do you think there's any world in which, if they break up with Chrome, that the stock loses 25% of their value, as Barkley said this morning?
I mean, it's a real possibility. I'm not saying that, you know, it can't happen, but I think Google's got so many secondary businesses that generate enough future returns that it doesn't have to necessarily worry. Like, I think a lot of people look at Apple and be like, oh, look, Apple, I'd rather own Apple. And I'm like, well, Google right now generates like 100 billion in cash flow that they can just keep buying back shares. And right now, even with like, let's say they lost on the distribution networks with Apple and Samsung and everything else to Perplexity, I don't know. That's like, I think that saves them almost like 30 billion in cost per year, you know? So a lot of those costs come back and Google could reinvest those in share buybacks, and Google is actually still be in a much better position. So I don't know. I think the market's already priced in a lot of this stuff. So I'm not as concerned about Google, especially if the time horizon is long enough.
All right, Chris, real quick, we'll go back to Google, but we got Jolts. Let's just see what comes in. I'll get your live take on how you think of it. Market wants 7.05. We come in at 7.3. Whoa.
Job openings are strong.
That's bad for rate cuts, but that's good for the economy. So the market thought we would have 7 million jobs. We came in at 7,390,000, basically 7.4. And that's above last time we had 7.2.
Yeah.
All right, raw take. What do you think?
It's interesting to see that data, man. Because the thing is, like, a lot of these things are always revised down later. So I never really trust the raw numbers when they first come out. So I guess we'll see. But I mean, at the same time, look at the month-over-month factory orders. They're down.
Right. S&P kind of making a little bit of a move on that. We should be getting a little bit more coverage right here on Jolts, and then we'll keep going from there.
Tech is outperforming today. It's up about 1/3%, and the Dow's down 52 points, kind of waiting on some economic data. We'll get the biggie at the end of the week with the jobs report. Take a look at treasuries.
Okay, we'll go back to that in a second. So, Chris, you were saying this one, factory orders month for month. What is the implication of this being down 3% month over month?
It just shows that, like, things are slowing down, right?
Okay, and then
right there, it just says it. Factory orders are slowing down. Factory orders, transportations are coming down. So it's not like, oh my God, like we're in expansion mode. That's why you're seeing things go down. So I don't know. The data is going to have to be looked over and see what happens. Like I said, with Jolt's data, there's been a lot of revisions. So I kind of will see like later on in the future what the actual numbers are.
Yeah, that is fair. All right, let's get this coverage and then we'll talk a little bit more about it.
7,391,000 above the 7.1 million estimates, and sequentially above slightly revised 7.2 million in the rear view mirror. That is the best since just February because we reversed that March downturn. Now let's look at factory orders. Minus 3.2 expected, minus 3.7 arrives. Weakest since January of last year, and a negative revision from 4.3 to 3.4 for previous month. Take out
See what I mean?
Still negative, but a bit less negative, down 0.5%. We're expecting a positive number, down 0.5%, weakest since May of 24. Now, these are durable goods coming up. These are final reads that replace mid-month read. Minus 6.3 remains at minus 6.3. That's the weakest going back to Jan of last year. If we look at durable goods ex transportation, a dramatic improvement, up 0.2 equals our last look, and that would be the best since it was up 0.4 in February of this year. If we look at capital good orders, non-defense ex proxy for capital spending, deteriorated by 0.2% from minus 1.3 to minus 1.5.
All right, so some slowdown in factory orders, but some increase in jobs. I want to ask you a question real quick.
But once again, you even heard Santelli say it, like they've been revised down in the past.
Yeah.
A lot of these numbers, when they first come out, they're so like, oh my God, everything is rosy. But then they come back like, I mean, you remember, I think it was August or September last year, where it was like the Biden administration that said that there was 800,000 less jobs than they had originally reported.
Yes, and I want to ask you about that, but real quick, guys, Hims, I mean, what the hell is going on? Like, this is basically what Kris was saying yesterday, right? When I asked you, hey, these stocks are pumping and dumping, you're like, yep, this is just the nature of this market.
Holy shit. Venture Global just hit 15. It's almost 16% higher today.
Holy crap. VG.
So you're going to be on the private jet with me, right, brother? Is that what's going to happen?
Dude,
we got
to name the private jet something. We
got to celebrate, bro. We got to celebrate.
But dude, 17% to up 5%. Like, what the hell is going on?
I don't know.
Like this name is just, this is one of the reasons I was a little hesitant to, it's just so freaking volatile. It's like a different level of volatility. And obviously it's shorted a lot, which is helping, but let's see if it gets back, folks. 67 right down to 60. Maybe it didn't need to go to 67 this morning. And so a 6% move is still pretty good, but it did pump aggressively. NVIDIA right here, 141, that's up 2.6. S&P is green. Hims up 6. Venture Global up 15%. And then Hoodie trying to get back to 70. Okay, so here's my question, Kris. On JOLTS, if we have 7.3 million jobs available, does it just become harder and harder and harder for JPOW to cut?
Not necessarily. Because the thing is, like, you remember, their entire premise is going to be based on PCE. Right? PCE is where we want it to be. And not to mention, if you look at the JOLTS data, it's been trending downward, you know? So like I said, I think this one read is something that the market is going to eventually, I think it's just going to shrug it off as the new data comes in. The trend hasn't been broken, in my opinion. I think the JOLTS, the information that we're getting may be a little bit too rosy, but you know, because I mean, on one hand, you're seeing factory orders down, but at the other side, you're seeing job openings up. Like, yeah, I get it. Services expanding, but
so you're saying you don't believe any of it, is what you're saying.
I think JOLTS isn't something that you like put a lot of faith in, because there's just been too many revisions on how things happen. And so, like I said, I use other indicators that are going to be a little bit more accurate when it comes to that. My biggest thesis right now, though, honestly, has got to be housing, dude. Like, the amount of inventory and the amount of price cuts that I'm seeing when it comes to housing leads me to believe that there's going to be some major downward moves in inflation over the next probably 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not kidding when I say, I mean, maybe it's a little bit different in the Northeast, but here in the South, brother, when I say there are houses coming on the market, there are a lot of houses coming to the market, and every single one, they're price cuts. And not like small price cuts, like 25,000 here, 25,000 there. The amount of homes sitting on the market right now, I think it's almost at 4.5, like the monthly supply is almost like 4.5 months of supply. So I think the housing data is something that really, and I hope the Fed is taking a look at it too, because housing has so many like secondary effects. so many people use housing and the equity that they have in their housing as a benchmark for wealth in this country, that if the prices of homes starts to come down, that negative wealth effect could end up causing a big pullback in spend. And on top of it, you're starting to see all these COVID era programs starting to get sunset. You know, these are the things that I think there's liquidity is being drained in this market. It may not be 100% visible yet, but I think in the next 6 to 12 months, it will be. And by that time, it's going to be like, wait a second, inflation is way below 2. And the Fed, this whole notion that the Fed is only going to cut twice this year, I call BS on that. I think it's going to be at least.
Really?
I call BS on
Most people think we're barely getting 1 cut this year.
No, dude, I think it's going to be 4, man. Yeah. The amount of rental vacancies. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this data, but rental vacancy rates in the country right now, they're above pre-COVID. You know, look at this. Okay. So this is rental vacancy. Rental vacancy is almost at 7.1. So 7.1 is back to where it was pre-COVID, and it's literally just going higher and higher with more and more inventory getting dumped from finished construction.
So on a technical perspective, you're right, but I don't think J Powell gives Trump 4 cuts, bro. I don't think J Powell is as concerned or interested in politics as a lot of people may think. I think he is very, very clear on his mandate, which is to control inflation. And the thing is, if the numbers end up going too far south, he's not going to let personal vendettas against Trump being an asshole impact his decision on when to cut. You know, I think right now the biggest thing is just, will these tariffs cause a rise in inflation? And from everything that I'm seeing, probably not. We're mostly a services-based economy. So a little bit of goods inflation is not going to impact us. And most of that impact is being absorbed by suppliers, by some parts of the consumer, and by the businesses who, by the way, coming into this year had some of the best margins ever. Yeah,
because of price hikes that they were able to get during COVID, you know, post COVID. So I think businesses will just eat the cost. You know, they might go for like becoming a little bit more efficient. So they might just go, you know, maybe not hire as many people, expand nearly as much. So yeah.
Shy, thanks for the $5 super chat. They say, Chris, I'm in the same position to you. I'm putting an offer. I'm looking for a nice SoFlo area. Is that South Florida? Yeah, South Florida area. A lot of inventory and price cuts. I feel good timing. Do you think this is a good time?
Yeah, I'd say Shy, just wait, because one of the things that's happening right now in South Florida is that their property taxes are a little bit elevated, but more so the insurance on the properties are really high. So I think that's causing a little bit of panic among a lot of the people in South Florida. So they look at their insurance rates and they're just like, holy shit, I don't want to do that. Now, the thing is, eventually, if prices come down low enough, then yeah, Chris's home budget just shot up with VG. No, bro, I'm not doing that. No,
dude, get the $4 million house I showed you, bro. Get the $4 million one.
No. We're not doing that. We're not playing that. I am always going to be a humble guy. Like, I don't need to be in that position. And even with the private jet thing, that's a joke. I'll never get a private jet. I am all about, if anything, I'll get like a business, and I'll share a secret with you. The secret to getting really cheap business class tickets, especially if you're flying international, is to go the day of to the airport and be like, hi, do you have any business openings? And they sell them at the gate at like 80% discount. So anytime like we fly to India, that's what we did last time. We'll just go to the gate and be like, hey, can we get an upgrade? How much is it going to cost? If you tried to buy it from the get-go, it would have cost you way more. But if you just go to them that day of and ask them if they have any for first class, bro, I've flown to India with my in-laws in the suite. You ever flown in a suite before?
Dude, I'm about to get on a flight tomorrow in basic economy, bro. I'm in the middle seat.
Enjoy.
It does keep me humble though. Like I never think of wanting to get first class, but like if I do international, I do think next time I would do at least business class, because
yeah,
is a lot.
Dude, I'm telling you, just book a regular one the day of. Go to them and just be like, hi, do you have any business class left? What kind of like price can you give me? And most of the time they have one or two maybe even sometimes a little bit more left, and they'll give you the seat and it'll be like a 70-80% discount, because to the business, to the airline, there's like, whoa, that's free money. Otherwise we would have had an empty seat flying, you know?
Yeah.
So
Okay, going back to Google. So would you buy Google here or Nvidia here if you had to buy?
I don't know, man. I think eventually AI is going to
that
get
as well. I'll do a poll, but what would you rather buy Google at 165 or Nvidia at 141? Very curious what people would think here.
The challenge is there's so much headline risk for Google that I'm not saying that it's until that headline risk dissipates, Google's gonna underperform, right? I think if Google gets oversold, then there's definitely opportunities where you should buy it. But if you're asking me, hey, Nvidia, which has got like the it's the golden child right now, and the amount of money that they're generating and the share buybacks that they can pull off, I mean, Nvidia seems like the longer term play here, and especially with the newer technologies that are coming out. But then again, my investing style would not let me buy Nvidia. It would just
you would not buy it.
It's hard for me to buy things like that because I feel like it's it's too expensive for me. So I'll stick to the things that I know, because for me, it's when it comes to investing, and this is the same thing I hope everyone here in the chat realizes too. Don't buy things that you can't sleep well at night holding on to long term. Because if you're in that boat where you just buy something because someone else's conviction, you'll sell out of it too quick. You won't make money on it. And if you have actual conviction, you'll do well. So even some people say like, "Oh, you missed out on Palantir." I'll be like, "Yeah, but I slept better. I slept good at night, so I'm happy." Do I regret it? Do I regret it? Yeah, sometimes I do, but
100%. I mean, it's all about mental peace at the end of the day when it comes to actually being able to manage your portfolio. Dude, people are really curious about what you paid for the suite. Apparently, it's a new trick you taught everyone today.
I don't remember. I think it was like $1,000.
Dude, that's
like
that's not bad.
On top of my ticket. So my ticket at the time, round trip, was, I think it was like
$1,500,
$1,200. Yeah, like it. So this is another life hack, and this is just a funny one. So whenever you go to like, and you know what? Maybe I'll keep this. No, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. If you're ever flying to India, do not fly Air India. Always fly the Middle Eastern Airlines. Okay? You know why?
Why?
Because they never hijack their own people, bro.
Oh my goodness! This is YouTube's gonna be like, why? It's
well, the thing is, Air India's been hijacked a few times, bro. It's had some incidents. So if you're gonna fly to India, you do not want to fly an Air India flight. That's like the primary one they'll hijack. So just off chance, you fly Emirates, you fly Etihad, you fly Qatar, bro. You're set. No one's gonna mess with you.
That is true. I mean, why would they hijack their own people, right?
Exactly. There you go.
we can make this joke. We're brown. We're not white guys. We can make this joke.
Yeah.
It's not racist. So
that's just a joke, everyone. Okay, it's just yeah.
All right. So you'd rather buy Google over Nvidia, but you also understand why Nvidia is getting this momentum over Google. Okay, Robinhood 70. Thoughts and reaction to this?
This is the one thing I feel like a dumbass every time, because I use their product. I use everything. And when it was in the 30s after that pullback, I was so fixated on some of the other stuff that I didn't just like dump some of my other positions and just buy a crap ton of Hood. Because I knew this company was going to do really well. I've said it to you multiple times. I've actually used the product all the time. And I know that there's a huge moat with Robinhood with regards to its user experience. I know some people, and this is something that's been hotly debated for like the last 5 years, like user experience isn't a moat. And I'm like, yeah, BS. User experience is a huge moat, and people haven't been able to replicate that. So I think Robinhood is going to keep doing well. I hope that there's a pullback. I'm sorry if you guys hold Robinhood, so I can buy at a better price. The one skill that I think I have to learn and be better about is something that Stan Druckenmiller, I think someone said one of Stanley Druckenmiller's greatest superpowers is that when things are going against him, he knows when to just sell out and not feel bad about it and just be good. So yeah.
We do have a couple headlines, folks. PayPal is no longer working with Google Wallet starting June 30th. So that update came out this morning. PayPal CEO Alex Kris has been tweeting about a lot of stuff. He's pretty excited about some of their new progress and momentum. Also, Fed President Bostic, or is it Waller? No, it's Bostic. Today he said just now, 15 minutes ago, no glaring signs of serious labor market deterioration. Best monetary policy approach now entails patience.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good way of putting it. The only problem is when something cracks, it's there's no like we're falling off the cliff. It's like literally you're just falling off the cliff. The saying is with the markets, when things go up, it's like an escalator. When things go down, it's like an elevator. So when things go down and things start to hit shit hits the fan, then the Fed has to react in a very quick way, so
right.
We'll see what happens.
CoreWeave, you think this is a bubble? What do you think's happening here?
Brother, to me, when I look at CoreWeave, I think it's a bubble. But the reason why I think it's a bubble is because so much, like first, the money that they make off of the hyperscalers. And so the hyperscalers are basically giving them this business. So the question that everyone should be asking is, why are the hyperscalers giving them this business? Right? Why don't if this is such a valuable business, why don't the hyperscalers do it themselves and just keep all of that revenue, keep all of that business? I think what's happening with CoreWeave is you're seeing this exponential growth, but they're also fueled with a lot of debt. And the thing is that debt is fixed to just be there. But at the same time, the assets that they have, which is those GPUs, they're depreciating like crazy. And I think Microsoft recognizes it, Amazon recognizes it, but in the short to medium term, there's so much demand around compute that CoreWeave is getting a huge, huge multiple for what it's supposed to be. And so if you have CoreWeave, congratulations. It's a great thing that you guys are making a ton of money on. I think it rode up from $40 to now 100 and something, right?
Yeah.
It's a 4x return from IPO.
No, literally, basically 3.5. I mean, it's incredible, dude. But like,
since March, yeah.
This is one of those names that might just continue getting a multiple based on the AI trade. And it's, no one's going to care that deeply about the depreciation or the CapEx or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you got CoreWeave right here up 12%. Bostic also said he is very cautious about jumping to cutting rates. I mean, Bostic and Goolsby and Powell, they've all been having the same message. Did you listen to Powell yesterday? I don't think he said anything interesting. I didn't listen.
No. The one thing I'll tell you is they've shifted. They've shifted from everything's going to be okay to, hey, listen, we're going to cut, but we're just being patient. So I think the wall is slowly coming down, if you haven't noticed. Right now, the only thing is PCE. If PCE drops below that 2% mark, it's going to be like, hey, we're going to start to cut,
By the way, Kris.
I know.
Venture Global.
Let me look at Robinhood.
How much are you up today, bro? Just tell us.
Hold on. No, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it out loud. I'm not going to say it out loud.
Text me a screenshot. I won't say it, but I just want to look at it. And then my reaction.
Yeah.
Dude, but this is the cool thing about this community, right? Like, these are not sports teams. These are real companies. And if you get behind the right horse, you could have a day where you're up a year's salary. It's pretty cool.
No, it's nice to see, brother. It's nice to see. Carnival is up too, so that's good. So today's one of those green portfolio days.
So, and tomorrow might be one of the red days, but it's green today.
Yeah. AST, that's another one that I think if they get their act, well, not if they get their act right, they are doing their act right, but if they get the satellites in the air that they need to by the end of 2026, AST is going to be also like a huge free cash flow monster.
So we need to do our stream, bro. When I come back next Monday, I think at night. Tuesday night, we'll set it up, you and me.
I think we should bring on someone who's like a super AST bull also. If anyone knows, I've seen some people on Twitter that have done way more research than I have. Like, I'll be honest, a lot of times I'll do my own research, but a lot of what I did this time with AST is I followed their research and just confirmed their thesis rather than creating my own thesis around it. Like with Venture Global, it was something that me and Matt just looked at and we did ourselves. But with AST, I think there's a huge community of AST people that, let me tell you, they do their homework, bro.
Okay, if someone is comfortable talking for 2 hours and really knows their work, just DM me on Twitter and we'll have you on a stream next week to talk about ASTS.
Yeah. People asking about my health. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's doing good. I'm not having like any major issues or anything like that. It's just I just have to change my lifestyle. I'm getting to that age where if I change my habits right now, it will prevent a lot of problems down the line. And this happens to anyone in my age, right? We all have to basically take some precautionary steps. I mean, we can't eat like we could in the 20s. Like, so I'm gonna enjoy all you freaking can right now. Cause let me tell you,
dude, last night I had some medium well steak, had a little bit more than a few drinks last night. Like, I don't think I could do this in 10 years, bro. Cause I already kind of feel like shit. So like, I can imagine when you're 40 having to deal with this. So.
You don't know how many things have carbs in them until like you start to, like you watch that. So like someone gave me crap like in your chat about, oh, look at this guy going to IHOP, like trash talking Indian food and going to IHOP. I'm like, bro, I had their omelet at IHOP. That was like the reason why I went, because it's just pure protein. There's no carbs, and I had a side of fruit. So it wasn't like, yeah, see, I missed those days.
Look at how good. By the way, I had a friend with me last night who swore he would never eat medium well. I didn't finish the last 2 pieces. He ate them. He had to admit medium well is not horrible. He had to admit it. So
yeah,
there you go. But no, yeah,
talking,
like,
yeah. Sorry,
see, going to IHOP and getting an omelet is like the right way to approach it, right? You still get to enjoy the process of going out, but you don't get the double chocolate chip pancakes. Right? Yeah,
no. So right now it's just, for me, it's, I just realized right now how many things have carbs in them. But there's one thing I'll tell you. I stopped eating carbs for 2 days, bro. I feel much better. Like I stopped eating. 100%. I stopped eating all carbs on Sunday. I mean, I'll still eat like a little bit here and there because you can't avoid carbs completely. But dude, like ever since I cut carbs out and just went on a more protein-based diet, like eggs and chicken and stuff like that, it's just I feel better. Like I don't feel this bloating as much as I did before.
I want to do the carnivore diet. I've watched so many videos on it, and I'm just like, dude, like when you cut out carbs and just eat pure meat, it does wonders. I haven't embraced it yet, but I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Kris. So overall green day for you. You got a lot of people into VG. They're feeling pretty happy. 19% up. And then I guess your thoughts are consistent from yesterday. The broader markets are expecting a relatively flat to maybe green June, and then we go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I hope for the sake of our economy that that the president and the team around the president are able to navigate this market in a way that doesn't involve a lot of people losing their jobs and the economy tanking and basically causing a lot of turmoil to the average person. The biggest thing is guys like me and you, and we'll be fine. Like it's we can, like, if the market takes a downward move, we have jobs that are irrespective of how the economy is going to do. But there's a lot of people that are very dependent on their jobs, and if the economy goes south and you see a lot of layoffs and everything else, it's going to impact a lot of average people. And a lot of these people are the same people that are not going to be able to tolerate a drawn out recession for a prolonged period of time.
Well, do you think non-farm payrolls on Friday are going to be like really good compared to this JOLTS number that we just got?
I don't know, brother. That's the thing. Like the data is all up in the air right now, so I don't know. If
it is, Trump's going to claim victory for it. If it's not, I wonder how he spins it. He's going to have to blame someone. He's not going to blame himself, right?
I mean, it's the Biden economy. Right? The green days are Trump economy. The red days are Biden economy.
Dude, the market wants 130,000 jobs. If we come in at 125, I think he blames Powell, blames Biden, blames. If we come in at 150 or 170 like we did last time and have a 50,000 beat, he's going to say, see, my policies are working. So it's going to be very interesting to see kind of how he navigates that, because we have not had a crappy jobs report in 5 months. We've had amazing reports, which is bad for rates, but it's good for the economy.
Yeah.
And so we have to see.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, good luck. Have a great day today. Hope the markets keep performing like they're performing, and we get another great year. And I'm looking forward to hanging out again in August when you finally get your new apartment.
Yeah, ASTS right here up 1%. We'll do that stream next week. If you're in an ASTS bull, just DM me and we'll talk. And then Kris, send me the screenshot. I want to see this.
Yeah, I'll send it to you later, dude.
Later.
Bye.
All right, folks, we're going to have Nate from Hims come on in like probably a minute. Maybe like maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and he'll be on and he'll give us the lowdown on him. So this thing right here is now up 5%. It was up freaking 17%. As volatile as it is, at the end of the day, like this is Hims stock, right? This is the reason people buy the stock. The reason the options are so juicy is because of how volatile it is. So it kind of makes sense. It is kind of dramatic though, just gapping up that heavy and then losing a lot of it. But then again, if it ends up the day 5%, given it was basically consolidating in the 50s for the past week and a half, I don't think anyone would be upset about that. So still nice to see them get some of this momentum. Let's get some coverage from someone who has never joined the stream. So I'm going to put his Twitter right here in the chat. Everyone should definitely follow him. He does great content on Hims. And we're going to try to poke at him and make him laugh as much as we can and see how he does today. Nate, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Better with the news.
Why, before we get into, why don't you tell everyone like who you are and how you even know me?
Oh man. I am one of the OG Palantir bulls, and that's why I found you. Back in early 2020, actually like late 2021, I think was your first video. And I'm pretty sure I watched one of the first videos because I initially bought Palantir and I was like, oh, this is cool AI company, and then
you bought on DPO too. You bought,
and then it fell 40%, and I was like, wait, what am I holding? So then your channel was a big thing for me to understand what I was holding with your Palantir weeklies and stuff like that. And that was sort of my first validation that I actually know what the hell I'm doing with investing, because for the first like 3 years I didn't make any money. So Palantir was kind of that first validation.
Literally for all of us, right? It was
yeah.
Okay, and since then you've evolved as an investor, obviously, and you are, I'm proud to call you a friend of mine. You've been in Hims for a very long time, basically for the past, I think, 2 years, and you got in when it was in the 10s or the 15s, and you've been able to analyze this company very effectively on Twitter. You've bugged me to buy it. I haven't listened to you, which is why I'm not up as much on Hims. So I have a bunch of questions for you, but here's the first question. What does this expansion mean for their trajectory? And am I right when I say them going for international growth is a really, really bullish sign for their future overall growth?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to digest there. I mean, I think initially people are super bullish, but I actually am probably going to take a slightly less appreciative stance from mega Him bulls and think like this is slightly bullish, but I don't think it's crazy bullish. The reason why is international and especially European markets are socialized healthcares, right? So their healthcare is already a lot more affordable, and it's a different society. Like America is so used to we have too much spending power and buying power. And so trying to replicate the same model that America has with Hims and try and move that to Europe is not going to be as easy as people think. That's number one. And number two, it's great that we're getting 1.3 million users, but they only make, I think the last I saw was like, we can't get the exact metric, but it's between like 40 to 60 million a year, the Zava acquisition. And so 60 million a year, but 1.3 million users means their users barely make them any money. And so I'm more curious on, and we don't know the deal. It was all cash. We don't know how much they paid for it. I'm curious to see how much they paid for it. Because if they paid over, in my opinion, over like 600, 700 million, then they kind of overpaid.
You think they would have paid that much?
Possibly. I mean, we never know. I think it also was obvious they wanted to acquire someone when they doubled down on their senior convertible notes. Like clearly they wanted to acquire someone, and the fact they doubled down to me was like an obvious sign they were looking to acquire.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely bullish though. I think they also, Zava, has all of the products that Hims already has and products they want to get into. So testosterone, menopause, weight loss, sleep stuff. So I think that'll help a lot with expanding into their current products and getting some quicker product velocity. But overall bullish, but I think it's slightly less bullish than people want to put on.
See, this is why I like you. You're also very, very objective about this. I mean, there's a lot of people on Twitter that are like, Hims is going to $5,000, and you're a bit more reasonable.
I would love if it did.
but you don't have like, and this is what made the Palantir community so good in the early days. Is like people didn't have stupid price. Like people tried to really analyze the company, right? Which is what mattered. Okay, so you're not the most bullish on the deal, but you do think that the deal is productive. What is your fair value for Hims right now? Like, do you think we should be at $100? Does that make sense?
I mean, it's really, It's a great question. I think it depends how you want to value it. I think people want to value it just like tech, like price of sales, but they don't have the same operating margins that a Hood or Palantir does. And so it's hard to give them that crazy tech multiple. But I do think they deserve a slightly higher multiple than they're given. I put fair value right now around like $75. I think if they hit their
75. That's what you're doing.
I think if they hit their $2.35 billion guidance this year, that puts them around like, if they keep the same price of sales they have right now, which is like a 6.8, I believe, then I think that's very fair value. I think they're going to beat earnings or beat their yearly guidance. So I think $80-$85 is more of what I'm looking for by March of next year. But yeah, I still think it's slightly undervalued, but it's definitely approaching fair value in my opinion. I don't think it's worth $150 right now and should be $250 next year and crap like that.
That is fair. Uber right here is up a little bit. Robin at 70.4, and then Hims just under that $60 range. Do you think you tweet about this a lot, the consolidation that we've seen in the past week and a half of Hims in the 50s is healthy? And would you like to see it spend another couple months just chilling out in that 50 to 60 range?
Honestly, yeah, I think I'm actually surprised. I'm used to the volatility of shooting up to 70, dropping back down to 25, going up to 50, dropping down to 30. So the fact that it went up to, I think it hit like 60. I mean, it hit 67 today, but like 62 or 63 when that other rally, and then it only dropped down to like 55, 58. I mean, to me, that shows like there's a lot of buying power and that they're buying pressure. And so the consolidation is worth it. Kind of like when Palantir, I think it sat from like 19 to 25 for a good like 10 months.
Yeah.
And then obviously now it's 120. Not saying that it'll be the same thing, but I do think consolidation is healthy, especially with consistently beating earnings and kind of staying within that price. So I don't mind it. I think if it does stay here for a few more months, I'll probably start accumulating more. But just kind of waiting to see how it pans out. But yeah, I like it consolidating here. I think it's in a good spot.
Why do you like the stock so much? Like, why you're in the chat every day just screaming about this stock? Like, why is it? Why is it? So
I mean, that's because I'm trying to pump my bag. But no, I think the reason I like it a lot is, I mean, there's a lot of factors. It's growing like crazy. I think it's an untapped, like it's a company that's trying to take over a really old market and disrupt the market. I think great tech leader, growing like crazy. I mean, a product focused company. So there's a lot of reasons. I think it kind of has all the things I want. The few things I look for in my framework is like a founder led, product focused, 80% gross margins. And to me, it kind of just makes it like an easy hold, especially now that it's been profitable for the past year. Yes, I do want my liquidity. You're right.
Okay. So do you think that Hims has a TAM that is as expansive as a traditional tech company? So like, we talk about Palantir as a $1 trillion TAM. Obviously, I don't know if Hims is at a $1 trillion TAM, but do you think their opportunity when it comes to healthcare, which one could argue is even more than tech just as a vertical, is enough for them to have the runway of growth to really be able to get to that $6-7 billion in revenue they're hoping for by 2030?
100%. I think they'll destroy that 6.5 billion revenue, by the way. I think the TAM, I mean, it's sort of unmeasurable. But I think as long as they continue developing new products, like I think the second half of this year, they wanted to release testosterone and menopause, two massive markets. They want to get into sleep stuff and health, heart health, stuff like that. And so I think there's always going to be room for this market, and people are always looking for ways to maximize and be efficient with their health. And so I think there's always going to be a market. I think in 10 to 15 years, almost everyone will be at least attempting or trying a product, or at least even looking into a product via Hims platform. And as they continue to partner with, Eli Lilly, which is probably going to happen in the next few quarters, and they've partnered with Novo, it just makes sense that they'll kind of be the go-to platform for healthcare needs, especially in America. Europe will be a different story. I'm curious to see how that'll work, but.
Okay, last question for you, Nate. You got Hims up about 2%, obviously down from that $67 level.
Crazy.
The volatility is crazy.
Insane.
Why do you think the shorts continue to short?
Dude, I keep trying to figure that out myself, and I still have no clue. Before the Novo partnership, I think it made sense. I think there's litigation risk, lawsuit risk. To me, it made sense. Like if a lawsuit did happen, the stock would be down 60% in a week. But the fact that we have the partnership and the shorts are still doubling down and they're still continue to short, I can't find a reason. I think.
But is it because they see price action like this, where they don't trust a big move?
Possibly, yeah. I think that it could be fair. I think it's hard when they're profitable and they have the revenue to back it up. But I do think maybe they don't believe in the GLP-1 growth, which I think could be pretty fair. Like they don't believe
Wait,
that.
but hold on. The GLP-1 growth is a small part of their business, right? Why is that
Right.
the biggest thesis for a short?
That's the only time I see the stock react to news is GLP-1. And so to me, that seems like there's, whether it's hedge funds or retail, and this stock is, believe it or not, I think it's 85% held by institution, maybe even more. And so it's
Wow.
not as retail as people think. And so when it reacts to GLP-1, to me, that means it's just the shorts and the longs kind of playing a little bit of a battle with that news. And for whatever reason, they think this is some GLP-1 company, even though it's just not. It helped a lot with revenue, like the quicker revenue growth in the past year, but that's not what they rely on entirely. So I don't really get it, but here we are.
Right. Well, if anything, it's hopefully going to create more opportunities in the future as well for people to
for sure
get in. All right, Nate, thank you so much. This was Nate's first debut appearance on the Market Open. Nate, you're going to be my HIMS contributor to Nat. So when there's HIMS news, you better keep 1030 open for me.
I will. Dude, also, what are you buying? Come on.
I don't know. I mean, like when
it already hit your quote unquote buy range. What are you buying?
No, technically it was below 50, but like I don't know if we're gonna get that at this point. So
I mean, it could happen. Who knows? I will be spinning every day though. So
yeah, I just feel I expect you to, but I just feel like I'm buying into a lot of momentum, and I feel like the markets have been crazy for the past 2 months. Like things chilling down is not, insane to imagine.
Were you buying Palantir at 40 when it went up 5x in a year?
No, see, well, that was the problem. I wasn't buying Palantir into strength, but I'm not making that mistake with Hood. But Hood, my conviction is just so much deeper. But you're right. Look, I get it. Like I don't have the best argument because HIMS is cheap at 12 billion market cap. It's not expensive, and I can't expect this thing to go back down to 30.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. And if it does, I'll be letting the boat for sure.
I will eventually buy in. I will let everybody know when. But
good.
It will be buying in because of you. You got me to buy in at 28.
Yeah, and then you fucking inside traded and sold 40% in a day.
Not inside trade anything.
Yes, you did.
You didn't tell me there would be a Nova partnership 10 hours after I bought.
That was funny. You literally sold off 40%, and you're like, guys, I swear, I didn't do it. I didn't know.
Everyone's like, admitting to you. I was like, no, I just had a friend who kept spamming to buy HIMS. All right, guys, there's Nate. You can check him out on Twitter. Again, great content. He understands this company very well. And next time we have any HIMS breaking news, we will get him on the show and be able to discuss. Also, he's a sexy guy, dude. I mean, just look at this guy.
Stop.
In our group chat,
dude, I hate you guys so much.
In our group chat is Babe right here. There you go. Let's turn the blur off. Let us see the real you. We know,
these guys. All right, now I have to go. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Talk
Thanks.
later.
Peace.
All right, folks. Robinhood tried to go for 71 while Nate was talking. Where do we end up? 70.34. Let me check resistance at 71. Dude, if we hit 71 today, that'd be crazy. That'd legit be crazy. Those JOLTS numbers too, bro. I mean, either they're fake or they're proving the labor market is like everyone yesterday when I asked about labor and anecdotal experiences, almost like 90% of you were like, dude, the labor market is not good. Like we have friends, we have some family, people are getting laid off, yada, yada. But then we see these JOLTS numbers and it's like 400,000 jobs available more than expected. It's like, that's a good thing. That means there's a lot of opportunity for people to get jobs if you believe that the JOLTS numbers are real. So it's really weird. Like all the anecdotal evidence that you guys were talking about, Kris is talking about, is that the labor market's breaking. But then the hard data is like, no, the labor market's doing pretty damn good. 71 is 15,000 shares. 15,000 shares for 71. So it is a bit confusing. I think non-farm payrolls tomorrow, that's going to be the big one where it's like, hey, what is actually happening? By the way, HIMS is losing a lot of its steam right here, 57.17, up about 0.5% now. But tomorrow's labor market data, that's going to be really important. It's going to be really important to see, hey, can we keep up month over month? And if the JOLTS data is this good, I mean, I think the non-farm payrolls data is also going to be good. Also, what's going on with CoreWeave, dude? It's up 15% again. This was up 40% last week. VG is up 15, down a little bit from 14, but still up 15%. NVIDIA didn't break 142. We got to 141.50. We hit 144 last week, so I don't think it would be crazy to get back to those levels. S&P 593, eventually going to get back to that $600 range. Broadcom all-time highs at 254. That's up 3% on the day. Carnival's up 1.7%. Reddit's up 0.5%. But CoreWeave, my goodness. Gotta say, this is one of the stocks of the year. If it holds these levels, incredible. The Applied Digital partnership was yesterday, if I'm not wrong. So if it, I mean, unless there was something else new announced today, but I feel like that was news from yesterday. Applied Digital right here down 1.2%. So I don't think that's the reason it's pumping, right? That was yesterday's news. I feel like there has to be something else. But that is green. Very, very green on the day. SMCI is running. Is SMCI? Yeah, SMCI running as well. 4%. Again, it's this whole stock pickers market, right? Like various different names, if you're in them, have been doing well. And even if the broader market has not been pumping, like the S&P has been, stuck in this range between 58.50 and 59.20, individual names have just had completely different performances. It's because NVIDIA's up. Yeah, I think SMCI is up because of NVIDIA's up. I mean, obviously CoreWeave's up because of NVIDIA as well, but NVIDIA's not up that crazy today. Like CoreWeave's up 15. NVIDIA's up 2%. CoreWeave's up 15. That's a 7x difference in terms of if CoreWeave's a direct beta to NVIDIA, which is pretty incredible. Where's the bond market right now? Yields are dropping today, which is actually good. Yields are down. 10 years down 4.4%. 30 years down. Japan's been chilling out over the past couple of weeks. 30 years at 4.967. Credit markets have not been screaming as aggressively as they were last week, which is a good thing. Amit, did you buy Misty? Yes, I bought it. Can I still buy today and get a dividend Friday? I think so. I think today is the ex-dividend day. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure exactly. But I think it's either today or tomorrow, which is the last chance you have to buy before getting the dividend. But yeah, I bought it yesterday. I actually bought it Sunday night in the after hours, about like $21.90. Remember though, if you're buying it just for the dividend, they take the dividend out of the share price. So if you're buying it because you think, oh, you're going to get this free dividend and then the stock goes down, like you got to really understand how these instruments work. So it's not just like it's free money, like that money is coming from somewhere, right? And so I'm taking an experiment with it. I did a decent amount of research. I'm curious about how these things work. It's not a super, super big investment, but I do want to see, is this something that is sustainable? And a lot of it depends on implied volatility. And I kind of think MSTR is going to continue to have just massive volatility, even with the run that it's had, because Saylor keeps buying Bitcoin. By the way, Saylor did something last night. I don't know what this guy's doing anymore, dude. He issued another preferred version of his stock. It's called Stride, STRD. And again, this also helps with volatility. STRD, a new perpetual preferred stock offering available to institutional investors. And I just said, bro, I don't know what the hell you're doing anymore. But if it helps you keep buying Bitcoin, then be my guest. If MSTR and Saylor can just keep buying Bitcoin, then do it. But I don't know what he's doing. Like, what is this, bro? He has like 3 other ones: STRK, STRF, STRD. I'm like, all right, bro. If it gives you the cash to buy the Bitcoin, then just do it. That's all we need to know. Is HIMS flat? HIMS is up about 0.8%, not flat yet. Still up 1% on the day. It did lose that 67 move. So one could argue, Nate brought up a good point. I totally forgot. Like, they're expanding to Europe, but Europe has free healthcare. So, I mean, although it's good for them to do international expansion, the one thing I didn't think about is, how lucrative is it necessarily to be in Europe where there's a lot of other free alternatives to like hair loss than having to buy something, right? I actually didn't think about that. So that's not bearish on the acquisition, but it definitely means, hey, maybe it didn't deserve an 18% pump. But then again, it could have also just been shorts piling in when it was up 18%. And that's kind of the nature of the volatile aspects of this name. Corey right here, still up 15%. And then Robinhood, I think she's going to try for 71. I don't know if we get there. We're 30 cents away, but it feels like she might try. Raj, thank you for the $20 super chat. Are you following the Circle IPO exposure to stablecoin, which I think aligns itself with the Genius Act, also backed by Coinbase, I believe? So I have not done any due diligence on Circle, so I'm not buying the IPO. However, well, let me not say that. I might put in an order for the IPO because I think it could get a pop just purely being on one of the better IPOs of the year that has the crypto momentum. When do they go public, though? They already got their pricing, right? Let me see if I can order shares on Robinhood. But I don't know much about the company, dude. I just think I think if there was any stock that could get a pump on the IPO day, it would be Circle. 27 to 28. There's not an expected date though yet. All right, I just told Robinhood I'm interested, and we'll see if I get any shares. But see, I got to do some more research on it. I do think though that given where crypto is headed this year, and given the momentum with Bitcoin and the stablecoin legislation, like that stablecoin legislation was almost written as if it was built for a company like Circle, which is probably why they're IPOing, because the Genius Act just passed 2 weeks ago. I think there's going to be a lot more demand for stablecoins, and there's going to be a lot more demand for treasuries to back those stablecoins, which is just going to create a much more liquid stablecoin market. So again, I don't know enough about Circle. I don't know enough about the stablecoin industry, but I do think the stock could pump. Granted, if you buy it just for the pump and it dumps, then it is what it is, right? So those are the risks with this as an IPO. Robin at 70.74. Let's see. They were willing to sell themselves to Coinbase at $5 billion. Huh? I did not know that. I'll do some more research today. I'll have some free time today. We will have a market close today, as usual. But I'll try to go through their S1 at least and get a better understanding of the company. CoreWeave again still pumping. That's up 15.9%. Grab right here 489. Venture Global still up 15%. Palantir flat on the day 131.17. And then Robinhood. She looks like she wants 71, bro. She looks like she wants 71. Hair loss and dentists are not free, at least not in the UK. Well, but the UK is technically not part of Europe anymore, right? So, like, I mean, someone tell me in the chat, is hair loss and dentistry free in Germany or free in Sweden? Or like how exactly does that work? I guess like or some of the core products that Hims is offering, are those commoditized to an extent in the EU by giving for free? Because if it's not, then like, yeah, they still have a massive market to go after. It's just, I think Nate's point was there might be some alternatives that make it not as cheap as it is in the United States, because obviously in the United States, Hims is incredibly cheap compared to some of the alternatives. Not free in Sweden. Some of you guys are saying dentistry is free in different parts. Dentistry is not free in England. Dentists are free up to the age of 25 in Sweden. As long as it's aesthetic, it's not free. Well, that's fair. Usually if it's a cavity, you know, it should be covered. But if it's like a teeth whitening or something, that would not be covered. Well, I mean, look, the market liked it in the morning, and Hims is still up 3%, but it just didn't like it as much. Dude, it pumped though, bro. That was a crazy move. 17%. That was like massive. And then either the shorts came in or someone sold it off, but I don't think you can be upset. Like, this is still a good acquisition for the overall progress of the company, regardless of just the stock here. Okay, right here. Nvidia's at 149. CoreWeave still up 16%, and then Robin at 70.60, trying to go for that $71 range. All right, I see like 3 super chats on this, so I'll address this here as well. Thank you for the well wishes on 200,000 followers. We did hit that on Twitter last night. So Peter, thank you for the $5 super chat. Winning with 200K followers. Let's double it. Appreciate you, David. Thank you for this as well. Hey, Mick, congrats on 200K followers. Just wanted to let you know, after your thesis on Grab, I decided to accumulate. I bought more Grab yesterday, so let's see how that one works out for us over the next couple of years. But thank you for the 200K followers. Congratulations. Last night was actually really cool. So dude, I drank a lot last night. I went out with some friends and we drank. Like, we drank, bro. We drank. Now I drank enough to be able to wake up in the morning and do the show, because, like, you know, I got home at 11 p.m. I went to sleep. I drank some water. I'm good to go. But we drank. And while I would say objectively like drunk last night, like I was drunk, bro. I was eating that steak and I was slurring my words. I was like, I'm pretty drunk. I see this tweet by my good friend Roy. I did not expect him to tweet this, because I wasn't going to tweet this, but he tweeted this, and I was just like looking at it while I was drunk, and I was like, oh, like I had to like leave dinner just to be able to respond to this. So he tweeted this. He said, "Since Amit is too humble to make this post, huge congrats to hitting the 200K mark." I think I told you guys the story a long time ago that well, I'll just read you guys my response, but I don't really like acknowledging the numbers. And I just, like, even on YouTube when we hit 70K or 75K, like, I don't like the acknowledgement of it, just because I don't know. I just want to keep working. And I feel like sometimes when you acknowledge it, you get really complacent. But obviously, I really appreciate it. 200K is a big deal, and it means the world to me. But as I'm drunk, like 8 shots deep, you know, I had this one tequila. It was like a spicy tequila. It was just an amazing shot. It actually tasted good. So I'm like drunk. I see this. Vlad congratulated me. And that was really cool. That was really like, I'm not even gonna lie. That was dope. Like, you know, he did not have to do that. He did not have to say congrats for that. You know, he's a public CEO. He doesn't have to spend his time congratulating me on a milestone in my life. But yeah, he said congrats. So while I was drunk last night, I saw that. That was really cool. That was just pretty dope. So this is a response I said. I'll just read it verbatim. I wrote this. I left the dinner. I was like, I just need to like focus on writing this response. And the guy I was with, he was mad that I was on my phone. I was like, dude, I'm responding to a CEO. I don't want to keep him waiting. Like, it's already been 20 minutes. I couldn't think of what to say. So I need to write this out. He's like, no, we're at the dinner table. I was like, let me finish this sentence, please. And I got him to relax, but then he made me drink another glass of wine for being on my phone. So I said, thank you, Vlad. I'm not sure if I ever told you, but the interview we did last year quite literally changed my life. You took a big chance giving the kid the interview of a lifetime, and it really helped legitimize my presence in the finance media space, and I cannot be more grateful for it. Thank you for showing me what it means to be relentless for the pursuit of excellence. It has been an honor watching you execute, and as I chase my own dreams, I see you handle all the success with deep humility, which Vlad does. I mean, you never see Vlad bragging. You never see him being cocky. You never see him be braggadocious. He's like, with all the progress Robinhood has made, Vlad has been one of the most humble CEOs that you can imagine. While never resting on your laurels, and it has been a bigger inspiration than you could ever imagine for me. Thank you for being a role model that showed me what it means to execute and never take any of the process for granted. And then I woke up this morning and he said, I was just early to see the talent. That was pretty cool, dude. That was pretty dope. So that was, I did not expect to experience that last night, as I was probably as drunk as I've been since New Year's Eve, bro. Like, I have not gotten as drunk as I got last night. But that was pretty dope. That was pretty dope to see. So shout out to Vlad. That was really awesome. He didn't have to say that, but it was really nice for him to holy glaze. Okay, but like, dude, this is a public CEO congratulating me on my freaking Twitter milestone. Like, yeah, I'm gonna but see, that's the like, I wanted it to be about him versus me, because it's not about me, because this whole thing is literally about everyone, in terms of there's 200,000 people that needed to follow you to make it quote unquote about yourself. And number two, if Vlad didn't give me that interview last year, by the way, Robin, at 10 cents away from 71, I don't know if I would have 200,000 followers, right? Like, that interview was a big freaking deal, bro. Like that first moment where a very successful person decides to sit down with you, it just starts to legitimize your ability to survive in this game, because content's ruthless, you know? Like, you constantly have to be innovating, constantly have to keep putting out content, constantly have to fight for people's attention, constantly have to fight to prove that you belong as a voice that should be listened to or respected or trusted or followed. And, you know, him doing that it was really special. It was really special last year. So I wanted to make sure that he knew that as much as he's congratulating me on the milestone, that it's because of him. It's because of Palantir giving me this opportunity to be able to make all this content. Like, it's because of you guys that tune in every morning. It's really not because of me, which is why I don't acknowledging the numbers, because as much as I love the numbers, it's really because of everyone else being part of this to help me get here, you know? And so that was cool last night. That was really, really cool to see. And it was super dope. Yeah, Vlad jump-started AK Media, 100%. 100%. First of all, he gave me a company to cover. I mean, you know, because a lot of people think Palantir was luck. I was like, okay, cool. Robinhood, I don't know if you could say that was luck, right? That was like, I mean, 7 to 70 can't be luck twice, I feel like. And now, you know, we have to, you got to keep fighting to find your next Palantir, your next Robinhood. And hopefully that's Grab. Hopefully that's some of the other names that we're looking into. Obviously big into NVIDIA, but NVIDIA is not really a contrarian bet, right? Palantir and Robinhood were pure contrarian bets. Grab, I think, is going to be a contrarian bet. That one's just going to take some time to play out. Like Robinhood and Palantir, they both took 2 years to play out. You know, Grab, it's been 5 months. So it's going to take some time, and hopefully it does. But in this industry, you know, you're judged on your picks. And the fact that he even built a company and executed to the point to allow me to cover it, to get the following that I have is very, very special to me, at least, you know, and it really means a lot. So shout out to Vlad. We're 30 cents away from 71. Still got 12,000 shares as resistance. Let's see if we get there. But if we do, that would be very, very, very nice to see if we can get it on a day like this. And then to Roy, here's the response I wrote to Roy. which again, I really appreciate. He did not have to do that, dude. So that was nice. I said, thank you, Roy. I try not to acknowledge the numerical milestones and just stay committed to the process because the easiest way to lose it all is to become complacent. So I guess you can say the fear of losing it makes me not even want to acknowledge it, but rather just continue pursuing it at the highest possible levels. And I really do agree with that, dude. The fear of losing it, because it is a big fear, right? When I mean it, I mean just like the brand, the journey, the momentum, like the fear of losing it kind of makes you not even want to acknowledge that it's happening. You just want to keep doing it. Because the more you're like sticking to the plan, the more you're executing, the more you know good things are happening. But the more you kind of bask in the glory of it, you kind of forget that like you need to work, because this doesn't work unless you work. That was good. I just came up with that on the spot. This doesn't work unless you work, right? You got to fucking put in the work to even get any level of these milestones. And so, you know, that's kind of the reason I don't acknowledge the numbers too much. But again, I do not take 200K lightly, and I just hope to be valuable enough to everyone to keep earning their attention. And, you know, it's awesome that Roy made this post because he's a friend that I got to celebrate this journey with, and I get to make content together with him every week. So super, super appreciative. Thank you guys for all the support. It means the world. And now we get back to work. Now we just keep getting back to work. Robinhood right here, 70.80, Hims 57. Again, Hims losing some of that pump. It was up 3% just about 2 minutes ago. Now it's up about 0.5%. CoreWeave not slowing down. It hit 142. Goodness gracious. Now it's back down to 139. Grab right here, 492. Palantir, 131.50. Up or down about 0.5% on the day. Is NVIDIA at 142? Did we crack in one? Yeah, we did. No, we didn't. 141.85. There's still 450,000 shares at 142 on NVIDIA. 450,000 shares at 142 on NVIDIA. NVTS is up today. Navitas. Okay, so all the semis are moving. SMCI is moving. Navitas is moving. CoreWeave is obviously, forget moving, dude. CoreWeave is just like going to a different galaxy at this point. 15% up. MicroStrategy is up 5%. Bitcoin's not even moving today, right? Bitcoin is relatively... No, Bitcoin's moving. It's up 1%, 106. Okay, so that's helping. That's helping MicroStrategy as well. And then Sharp. Okay, so SBET, this whole gaming thing, correct me if I'm wrong, they're up to 38%. Did these guys invest in Ethereum? Is this why they're pumping? I feel like I read that Sharplink Gaming, I never figured out why they pumped. Are they like doing something with Ethereum and that's what's helping them? Because I think that's the reason. I could be wrong. But if that's the reason for the pump, then, you know, I guess that's creating all this momentum. SMCI right here at 5%. Robinhood, again, 10 cents away. 10 cents away from 71. ETH reserve. Okay, they did. All right, so dude, I mean, this is why I'm saying, like, this is kind of why I want to buy some shares of Circle. I'm like, there's so many different momentum plays happening in crypto with freaking Ethereum reserves. I didn't expect companies would start doing that. It's just hard to imagine that, you know, this is not going to be one of the best ages for crypto over the next 4 years. All right, Hoodie, come on. We got 3 cents. Come on, Hoodie. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let me check resistance. 5 cents away. 3 cents away. Come on, Hood. Give it to us. Give us 71. 15,000 shares, 70.98. I think she's going to give it to us. She's so close. The street thinks S&P is coming. Okay, we touched it for a literal second. Dude, it keeps doing this. We did touch 71, folks. We touched it. We touched it for an absolute second. Those 15,000 shares are gone, and then it got sold off right at 71. But, folks, we did it. 71 on Hoodie. Hopefully we get back there. It was a literal millisecond, but we did crack through that wall, and we're pretty close by. So hopefully we get right back above 71. But 71, just like at 70, you know, we touched it for a second and then it took a little bit and then we got there. Hims is red. This one, I'm not going to lie. When I woke up, the first thing I saw was Hims, and I was just like, oh, this is going to be a great day for Hims. I didn't expect it to go 17%. Hims now down 1%. I did not expect a full reversal to the downside. I really didn't. I did not. But there you go. I guess, I don't know. I don't even have an explanation. I guess the market didn't like the Europe deal, but they liked it for 5 minutes, which just feels like manipulation at this point. Like they liked it for 5 minutes. They liked it for 20%, and now they don't like it at all. Or it feels like the shorts doubled down and they called BS on the Europe expansion, and they were like, hey, it's not that big of a deal. And they doubled down, and, you know, now people are selling. So I don't know. That's a weird one. I don't think it takes away from the Hims thesis at all, but very interesting and unique kind of contrarian price action to think a 20% move would just, you know, get hit like that. NVIDIA right here, 141.81. Robinhood 70.67. Robinhood also getting a red candle right there. So let's see if we can get back to 71, but that one's below it. Reddit 113. Tessie 349, silently up 2% of the day. Look at the S&P, 594. 594 on the S&P. So there you go, 594.46. That's up about 1/3%. We hit 596 a week and a half ago. So maybe there's a chance we can get back there. SharpLink Gaming source 400% as Joseph Lubin's consensus leads 425 million funding for ETH Treasuries strategy. All right, there you go. ETH Treasuries are helping SharpLink. Yeah, I did see this morning. Bank of America reiterated their underperform rating on HIMS. $28 price target reiterates their sell rating. And they have a $30 price target. It really looks like Bank of America either doesn't understand the HIMS thesis, or they as Nate was saying, they truly believe that GLP-1 revenue is going to get hit, and that could affect the stock. But kind of weird. Bank of America continuing. Wow, Citi. Also, Citi came out. Citi, look at the title on Citi. Here's what Citi says. So Bank of America said, sell it. Citi said, concerns over Zava acquisition and strategic fit. Reiterate our sell. Huh. So Citi and Bank of America, not vibing with this thing. I've got to read more of Bank of America's reports. Like, I've read them at a high level, but I got to go deeper and see, like, what exactly does the guy at Bank of America not like about HIMS? Because I know the GLP-1 part is part of his like concerns about free cash flow, but there's got to be something deeper for him to be this, for $30 price. He's calling for a 50% drop. And so there's got to be something deeper that he really does not like about this thesis. Corey right here, 139. Grab, maybe getting back to $5 today, up about 2% right here. And then Robinhood trying to get to 71. Imagine who sold the covered call at 17%. Yo, facts, bro. Facts. Those covered, let's check that right now, dude. Those freaking covered calls must have been insane. So if you go to June 20th, we're going to go to the June 20th $90 call this morning. This morning, if you sold it at the very top, you would have been able to get at 9:45, you would have been able to get $1.21, which is up 300%. And now it's worth 27 cents. Which, like, I mean, dude, you could have just basically made 70% on your money intraday with those covered calls. That's crazy. But the point of the volatility is why those premiums get up there, because people think it can go up and down aggressively. Nebius right here up 4%. That's getting some love. That one's green. And then NVIDIA, did we crack 142? No, we got 141.99. We did not get 142, at least not on Webull. 141.99. Then we got a red candle, as you can see. Now it's at 141.83. China diplomatic engagement as the top Chinese diplomat meets the U.S. ambassador to China. Okay, that's good. That's not bad. Dude, we got good JOLTS data this morning, and now we maybe are getting some good strategic China stuff. After, last week, they kind of tussled a little bit. Trump and Xi are supposed to get on the phone on Thursday, too, which is in 2 days. So, any summary of that, which is positive for the market, might help as well. You still have the CoreWeaves of the world doing their thing, and Nebius getting momentum. CoreWeave not slowing down, 15%. What about VG? VG, yeah, still up 15%. HIMS officially red. Misty's up 3% of the day. And then Hoodie trying to get back to 71. Will you be at market close today? Yes, I will be at market close. I don't think I'm drinking again tonight. To be fair, okay, I haven't seen these guys that I was going out to dinner with in like a year. So, these are good friends, and they're in DC, and I hadn't seen them in like a long time. So we went out, and I don't know, dude. I was like, all right, let's take another shot. And then before I knew it, I was like a little tipsy right now. So I don't know if I'm doing that again tonight, but that's good. This is how I like drinking. I'm not a guy who'll stay in my room and like drink by myself. I will drink socially with friends, and if I haven't seen them in a long time, that's when it's actually fun to like drink and spend time with them. So that's when I tend to drink, because usually I don't really tend to go out and stuff like that. All right, let's get some coverage on this And then we'll keep going from there. Are you concerned that we haven't had a deal since the UK deal? Not really. I think the India one is really close to getting done. And I know Kevin Hassett says that every week, but I think they're just doing the finishing touches. Japan, I think, is further along than what people think. And South Korea, I also think, is further along. But India, I think, is coming up. And if India comes soon, then I think we will, hopefully have some more progress on terms of that narrative being a lot better. It was not mocktails. It was actual alcohol last night. And, it was good. I really I've not drank that much in like a long time. So it was good. But I got home at 11. I slept. I drank water. I woke up at like 7:30. So it's like, I'm not hungover or anything like that. It wasn't that aggressive. But it's good with friends. I don't do it too often. So it was good. All right, let's get some more coverage on what Bostic said, and then we'll keep going from there. And I'll try to see some of these other headlines that we have right now.
Inflation will be a one-time pass-through or something more permanent, which he says he's hearing from business contacts who are stuck in a wait-and-see mode. Also heard yesterday from Chicago Fed President Goolsbee, he's a voter this year, that the PCE data may have been, quote, the last vestige of the pre-tariff impact. But as for Bostic, Sarah, he says, quote, I am in no hurry to adjust our policy stance.
Yeah, not a voter this 2025 period, but this pretty much jives with what the Powell thinking and lines have been on policy right now, which is wait and see. They just don't see an urgency to cut interest rates because they're not seeing a significant weakening in the job market, and they're waiting to see if these tariffs are going to be inflationary. The good news is we've seen a lot of progress on the downside toward inflation heading into the tariffs. I mean, the last PCE report was very good news when it comes to progress on inflation. The question is, does that hold? Economy is very much in focus. Where are we? Remember I mentioned yesterday that all those recession calls were getting downgraded. Just wanted to bring a few key notes and what we're hearing today. So UBS actually said recession probabilities are moving back up, but they're still only at 37%. They're looking at some of the April data like durable goods and housing construction and saying that model has come up a little bit. OECD, the big global think tank, came out today, cut the U.S. growth forecast because of tariffs to just 1.6% and 1.5% in 2026. Again, not recessionary, but they expect the growth to slow on economic uncertainty, a significant slowdown in net immigration, a sizable reduction in the federal workforce, all the stuff that we talk about every single day and what we hear about.
Yeah, I mean, 1.6, they were at 2.8 last year. And our friend David Rosenberg today argues if you're lowering this year and next, that somewhere in there implied is a recession. Of course,
Right.
David would go along with that view.
Which is 2 consecutive quarters negative growth. Look, you look at the where people are putting their money, and Kalshi is a good place to go, right, for the betting markets. It's been a pretty big swing. We've gone in just a month from 70% odds of recession to now 29% odds of recession this year. That's what's basically, go to the end of the chart and you can see that spike. That was, the April Liberation Day spike where it got as high as 69% odds of recession in the betting market. And look how far we've come down to 29% odds in the betting market. It's all about the de-escalation.
We do have Palantir right here, down about 1.2%. I don't think there's any big news. HIMS is down 1.5%. So HIMS is now really going down. NVIDIA still not cracking 142. Still about 10 cents away. CoreWeave up 16%. CoreWeave back to 140. Robna chilling out around that 70-50 range. Grab at 495. That's up about 2%. In terms of Palantir, again, some of the red might be explained through the narrative stuff. We'll talk more about that after this. But Palantir also is like, dude, it's basically at all-time highs. Like, it's going to be volatile. It's going to probably chill out a little bit, maybe go up or down here. But it is, it's well above the 120 range, which it was basically stuck at for the past 2 weeks. And so you got Palantir down about 1% right now on the day.
I mean, right now, I think one of the reasons the market is flat is we're waiting to see if when that call is between Xi and Trump. Remember, Eamon Javers, our reporter, he reported yesterday that that's going to happen soon. Those are the kind of headlines that move us away from recession. If we can get the trade deals and sort of eliminate some of the uncertainty that would cause businesses to not pull back and to do widespread layoffs. And so far, they have been waiting and seeing, just like the Fed. That's the kind of stuff that'll improve the outlook.
Right. Let's continue that conversation with Jefferies' chief market strategist, David Zervos. David, good to see you.
Good to see you, Carl.
I wonder how much weight you're putting on this phone call and whether or not that really gets the needle moving before we see some of that bleed through the hard data.
You know what, Carl? I think the needle is moving. It's been moving. This has been a tactical trade negotiation from the beginning. And I think where a lot of folks got twisted up is they took the opening gambit as a literal move and said, oh, this is.
NVIDIA did touch 142. I'm seeing it right now. I think it was like 2 minutes ago. So we did touch 142, but just chilling right now below it at 141.85 right now.
Where we're going to end up, which was really a worst case scenario. It was an attempt to drive people to the table in a negotiation, and the table is set. And we are seeing lots of folks from all over the world coming to that table and resetting the trade structure so that many of these imbalances that have been in place for decades get reset, much like they were reset in the 1980s during the Plaza Accord time in the mid-1980s, 1985, in fact. And that's kind of a narrative that we're using with our clients, that this is very similar to the trade negotiations that really centered more in the end on currency markets than they did on tariffs.
Right. But you're right. The market was sort of set up with a certain number of promises. Navarro, 90 deals in 90 days. I think it's been 52 days since he said that. I wonder whether or not you think there's a danger in some of these people across the table sort of rope-a-doping and slow going these talks.
Certainly. I mean, we saw the Europeans going slow. We saw the president push back. Then we saw them come back in, and everything seems to go back to a negotiation. I think we just have to look at this, Carl, as a storyline that is a negotiation tactic. This is how our president operates. It's different than past presidents. It's different than most past policymakers sitting in trade negotiation seats. But the idea is to end up in a fairer, more balanced trading environment. That's why I find all these forecasts, whether it's the Fed, the OECD, that are focusing on inflation or growth hits. Why? Why do that? This could end up actually very positive, and you should have that probability weight in your economic forecast just as well. I think it's a mistake by many to assume the worst, that everything goes to a less fair or less congruous trading environment. We could go cooperative. We could go to a much more cooperative trading environment when all this is said and done. That's the goal.
I feel like that's what the equity market, David, is increasingly telling us. We're what, 3.5% off the highs on the S&P and 23% off the lows in the S&P. So at this point, it's kind of a glass half full approach. What needs to fall into place economically and from an earnings perspective to have that happen? Because there are still risks, right? As you change the cost structure of business, that there's going to be side effects.
Sure. And every one of these businesses is fantastic at risk managing. That's what they do for a living. These CEOs have many shocks, not just trade, but shocks all across their businesses to manage. And that's what they do for a living. That's why they get paid. And they'll continue to do that. Look, sir, we've got deregulation to get excited about. We've got a tax bill to get excited about, tax cut and job growth, tax changes that are going to be pretty significant. And we have a whole set of monetary policy changes that I think are going to be coming down the pike sooner rather than later that probably ease up financial conditions, as we realize this was much more of a negotiating tactic and less inflationary than many people had thought. So there's just a lot of policy on the horizon that to me looks very positive for equities.
I mean, that was the view on the big, beautiful bill. You see that as stimulative? Because now there's a little bit of a debate about that and whether the market is excited about that, given bond market responses and concerns around deficit.
Absolutely. I think people got very nervous about that. They got nervous about the Moody's downgrade. We had a 10 basis point backup in 10-year yields on both announcements, or both sort of news hits. And within 24 hours, that 10 basis points was completely unwound. These are not Liz Truss moments. These are not some sort of major bond market alarm bell. It's not an alarm bell that's ringing.
Look, I agree, basically. And this Jeffries analyst is one of my favorite analysts. He's saying, hey, the credit markets are not upset. Or if the credit markets were upset, we would see a much more aggressive move in yields. And like, we're getting some of a move in yields, but it's not enough to the point where everyone can be freaking out, which he's right. Like, given all the different things we've analyzed over the past couple of days, just in terms of even foreign treasury demand, markets are not freaking out as aggressively, at least on the credit side, as we thought. And even if we had a crappy 20-year bond auction, that is not enough of a reason to say that the credit market is breaking. And as long as Jay Powell lowers rates with inflation that inevitably is going to be coming down, Kris thinks we're getting 4 a year. I don't think we're getting 4 cuts. I'd be happy with 2 cuts. But as long as we get at least 1 cut, I think credit market's going to be okay. Robinhood, we touched 7107. 7107 then got rejected, but we did get back above 71, like actually above 71, even though it was short-lived. It was quicker than the last time where we just touched it. So I think we should hopefully be able to get back above it. And it would be nice to see that as well. SOXL semis are, yeah, that one's up 6% today. This is 3x leveraged against the semiconductor industry. So if NVIDIA's up, that one's definitely going to be up. SMH right here is up 1.8%. NVIDIA, again, we touched 142 for a second, but it's getting hit right at 142. Now it's up 3%, 141.61. Is HIMS still red? HIMS is still red, down about 1.6%. And then Palantir at 131, basically down about 1% on the day. Yeah, if we get 4 cuts, I mean, SoFi is definitely going to get some momentum. I don't know if we get 4 cuts, though. I think unless something breaks, which is not the best thing, I think 2 is more. Now, or inflation just becomes so negative that Jay Powell has, like at what point do we got to go below 2% for Jay Powell to finally be like, oh, yeah, we're below the turn? Like what do we need for us to really get, Jay Powell to capitulate here? And if we do get it, if super core PCE going negative for the first time since 2020 is not enough, then maybe if we get more data, inevitably he cuts. But if he gives us 4 cuts, I think the entire market would be very happy with that. CEG lost all the gains as well. Wow. This is one of those markets where, at least one of those days where, if you're holding your gains, you got to be thankful for it. NVIDIA's holding some gains. VG's holding some gains. Hoodie holding 70, not bad. Grab holding 2% right here. I mean, a lot of these stocks, Constellation was up 12%. That one wiped out. Some of these names got hit. Yeah, Joby. What was the news on Joby, by the way? Did anyone tell me? Joby was up 20%. Now it's up 9%, but still up 9%. The Toyota thing was last week, so I feel like there has to be something else on Joby. CoreWeave still up as well. Celsius, are we green? Are we green on Celsius? Celsius, yeah, Celsius up 2.5. There's a $1 billion deal for Joby. CoreWeave up 17%. Let's see, $1 billion deal for Joby. Oh crap! Wait, but okay, so this is the same shit that Archer has done. Archer has like a big memorandum of understanding with the Saudi market. I don't know, bro. This is so they signed a $1 billion potential aircraft sale deal with the Saudis. I mean, I can get how the stock's moving on it, but like a lot of this stuff is, it's not real until it's real. What it explains the pump though. They have a new CFO today as well. That's what they said. Okay, that's a little bit of a better reason than this. Yeah, every time a company says we have a $1 billion opportunity and we have an MOU, it's like, dude, that's not a deal. That's like, it's not like anyone signed any agreements that you're going to get $1 billion. But it definitely does make headlines. NVIDIA right here, 141.70. HIM still down 1.5. Robinhood trying to go back for 71. Tessie's moving. 350 on Tessie. We did have our boy Ives once again explain his Tesla thesis yesterday a little bit more. I'll see if I can get that clip. But he continues to be bullish on Tessie. By the way, this was Palantir's booth yesterday. This is a photo that Iliano took of me. So yeah, it's a new album cover coming out. It's called Reawaken the Giant. So when the album is out, I will let you guys know. And for those that didn't see these pictures, this was their booth. It was a really awesome booth at the conference, as you can see right there. So there's the booth, and then they have the Anthropic partnership. So Anthropic Claude is being used a lot with coding. And so Palantir and Anthropic, they have an official partnership where AIP is going to be using their LLM when it comes to so I got 2 demos yesterday. I'll talk more about them later, but the demos showed when you ask a model a question and it gives you an answer, usually it's like summarizing some data. What I saw yesterday is asking a model a question, the model going into the LLM, the model going into the ontology, and the ontology coding to be able to give you a response. It was like some wild shit yesterday, bro. And I was like, holy crap. And that's all being done via Anthropic and AIP. So that partnership, I think, is going to go really well for Palantir, and it's definitely getting them some momentum. Hoodie 7106. There she goes. All right, let's check resistance at 72. Let's check resistance at 72 because we haven't looked at that. 72 resistance is 20,000 shares, 20,400 shares. Again, there's no walls. So if the volume's there, I mean, we broke through 71 because there was only like 15,000 shares. So 72 definitely does have a shot if we can get there. But yeah, so that part of the event was really cool. And then there was another picture I wanted to show you guys. Oh yeah, this. So Iliano, I'm going to go back there in like an hour and I'm going to see this, but I missed this yesterday. Tesla's at the event and they had a robotaxi and Iliano took a picture right here and Sawyer Merritt, who's like the biggest Tesla account on Twitter, reposted it. And we were at dinner last night and it was just pretty cool seeing that. So yeah, that was pretty dope. And I'm going to try to get a picture with the robotaxi today because I've never seen it in person, or the Cybercab is what it's called. So, which is also the robotaxi, but I want to see that later today and see what it looks like in the flesh. Robin, again, right below 71. So it's getting rejected at 71, but it does have some strength above it. And then Tessie right here. That's why I brought up that robotaxi picture. Tessie up 2.3% currently right now. Palantir's green. Did we go green? Kind of. 132.38, kind of going green right here on Palantir. I'm excited for you guys to see this Mike Gallagher interview, dude. Like, this was one of the most chill interviews or podcasts. I think it's more of a podcast than interview that I've ever done. And this guy, like, we've seen him on CNBC talk about China and Taiwan, and he's very serious. He's a bro. He's a straight up bro. And it was kind of wild, bro, because like this is what I mean about humility as well. Like, he's just one of the most humble guys. Like, as soon as he saw me, he like bowed down. I was like, dude, can you not do that? Like, can you stop? He's like, well, you're a mid. I gotta bow down to him. Like, please don't do that. Like the fact that they even treat me like that is insane, bro. And it's like, he's a high level defense executive who served in the Marines. He was in Congress. Like, the fact that he's even doing that for me, he was just a YouTuber at the end of the day. It's insane. And, when you see people that have that level of humility and gratitude, and the podcast was running late because he was talking to some general and he kept coming by where I was setting up the podcast. And he was like, dude, I'm not ignoring you. I just need 20 minutes. I was like, bro, you're the guy here. Like, I'm just doing a podcast. You're the guy who's like, talking to all these important Congress people. Like, you take your time. Like, don't worry about me. But he was so humble, bro. Like, just unbelievably humble. And it's like, you don't get that out of these big tech executives. There's always a big ego and stuff like that. They don't act down to earth. And that's what the term I'm looking for. He was the most down to earth person I've ever done a podcast with. And I think when you guys see the podcast, dude, you guys are going to love it. Like, it was funny the whole time. It was like serious when he talked about like China and Taiwan, but then he would crack a joke out of nowhere. And it's like, it was just such a chill guy. And I'm so happy that Palantir has a guy like this, because not only can he articulate his thoughts very well, but part of being humble and down to earth means you're able to communicate with other people. Like, people just like you when you're able to be like that. And the Japanese freaking love this guy. He was just in Japan. He came back from Singapore 2 days ago. I don't even know how he's awake, dude, and how he's traveling like every other week. He has 4 kids, but the guy's an animal. And, the Asian delegation loves him. Part of the reason they love him is because of how good he is at communicating, how humble he is. And Asians really appreciate that type of humility. But number 2, he's not a fan of Xi Jinping. And neither are the Japanese or the Koreans. They don't really like the CCP either. And he talks a lot of shit about them. And you can imagine that our Asian counterparts are happy that the United States is not cozying up with China. So from that perspective, I think it'll be a really good podcast. It was about 40 minutes, and it'll be fun for everyone to hear as well. SPY 595, robbing it again, just below 71. S&P, wow, dude, holy crap, we're 3 cents away. No, we touched 595, then we got hit. Now it's at 594.91. Palantir makes him caffeinated. Yeah, dude. Well, dude, the energy he had when he was he just got off a flight like basically 15 hours ago. Like, you can imagine the jet lag, and still he was the most energetic you could ever be on a podcast. And it was just really I'm really happy Palantir has him. It seems like this guy knows what he's doing, and he's very excited to be at Palantir. Amit, would you roll your 70 calls expiring 6/6? Yeah, dude. If you have $70 covered calls, I don't have those for this week. I would roll those. I think you got to roll those. Even if you got to roll them a month out to like 75, I would do that, because we could hit 75 on Friday after hours, dude. And now I don't know if we're gonna hold 75 because the S&P bump tends to get faded after it. But like, I wouldn't be in a $70 covered call. I would not be, because I think if we get included the S&P, we're past 70. But I think 75 is reasonable, and you can like manage the 75. So if you really want to get conservative, you can roll out to 80. But I think 75 is not a horrible spot to be in, and we just have to see this week if it plays out. Amit, are you and Chris still doing an ASTS stream? Yes, we'll do it next week. We weren't able to do it over the weekend because we had the SoFi debate. We'll do it next week, and if anyone is into ASTS, just DM me, and we'll try to get a person who's done a lot of their research to come on the show as well. Okay, we got Trump Jr. on CNBC talking about crypto. Haven't heard from him in a while. Let's see what he has to say as well.
And probably I'd been on this show where I could call any single banker in New York City. They'd pick up the phone. I'd be able to get a loan for whatever real estate project I was doing across the street. Then we got into politics, and all of a sudden, they wouldn't take your call. Right. You couldn't get financing. We were debanked. And what I realized, and my brother realized, because we were the recipients of every subpoena imaginable, was that, you know what, we were actually just the top of this sort of pyramid scheme that we didn't realize we were a part of, that the financial system was totally undemocratized. Because we had a certain balance sheet and whatever, we could kind of do whatever we wanted. The regular guy was messed up. Now we were all of a sudden in the shoes of the regular guy that wouldn't be able to take advantage of the markets. And we said, what's the solution for that? The answer is crypto. These decentralized platforms where you're not beholden to this, where you create efficiencies. As a guy that did real estate, why am I paying points in and out for?
Look, even if you don't agree with him, the point is the administration is bullish on crypto, and that's good for a lot of different companies. But yeah, you might not agree with Don Jr. in particular.
Title insurance that could be done on the blockchain. So we got into crypto not because it was like, hey, this is the next cool thing. We got into it out of necessity. We got into it because we understood just how quickly we could be turned off, even as an incredible developer from New York City. I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that we didn't change the skyline of New York City, but that disappeared in an instant. I mean, we're getting sued by the New York State AG, $500 million fees for paying back loans on time with interest. These aren't, fair markets. There's nothing egalitarian about any of that. So we actually, as innovators, as people who understand these things, we went all in on a concept that makes total sense because we'd actually been the recipient of how quickly that can be shut off. And so it actually makes total sense. The Trump organization isn't doing anything with foreign countries. The first time around in the administration, we actually stopped doing all foreign deals. And unlike the Bidens, we were actually doing international business before we got into politics.
My question, though.
But let me finish. We stopped doing those things, and the market still said, oh, they're profiteering off of this, they're doing that. We got zero credit. We shut down hundreds of millions of dollars of business to voluntarily just say, just in case. So now what we're going to do, we're going to play by all of the rules. We're going to do what we're allowed to do. But we got zero credit for going so far above and beyond because, that's the nature of this beast, right? It's a market cycle. I get it. It's click worthy. It's nonsense.
So let me ask you a question about the meme coin, okay? You may not believe this. I want your father and this White House to have all the credibility in the world. And invariably, people are always going to question.
Robinhood 7109.
Whatever any president does. But one of the things that people do demonstrably question is they say this meme coin that your father has creates the opportunity for foreign adversaries, people in the U.S., anybody, if they want, to effectively funnel money.
It's as bad as Hunter's art. It's as bad as Hunter's art or the Clinton Foundation with her getting back into the White House. It just seems like a way that greases the skids for influence.
So I think the meme coin, you don't know who's actually doing any of these things, right? So
that's one of the things that has people on edge.
It's different because it's hard to influence if you don't actually know where the stuff's coming from, right? So I wasn't involved in the meme coin. I'm more focused on, obviously, the stable coin, the Bitcoin mining, some of those things. But the reality is, I think a lot of these things in the meme coin.
You're not taking responsibility for the meme.
I'm just saying the reality of the meme coin is it's sort of a proof of concept that the crypto world understands exactly what I was talking.
Yeah, but honestly, dude, this proof of concept shit is absolute garbage, bro. The president of the United States has a entity by which anyone in the world can buy to send him money. It's his meme coin, and potentially elicit favors out of, or even worse, bribes. The idea that they are not tackling that question head on and saying it's a proof of concept. Yeah, we have a trillion meme coins. There's Farcoin. Farcoin's a better proof of concept. Like, why? Like, so to me, it is very obvious that this meme coin is pure corruption from the Trump administration. And I can't do anything about it. All I can say is, hey, at least the crypto industry is thriving. And it's an example of the crypto industry, but it is one of the most corrupt things I've ever seen from a president. And I don't think that's not even debatable. You can't debate that. That is like, if any Democrat was doing this right now, everyone would go crazy. So we've got to admit, the president issuing his own meme coin and anyone being able to send him money from this meme coin is one of the most corrupt things we've ever seen, or at least one of the most corrupt things I've ever seen.
Talking about earlier, that the markets may not necessarily be fair. The traditional banking system may not be fair to them. So it's a proof of concept of what I think we can move the needle in crypto. And I think that's going to be the future of finance. It's going to be the future of banking, almost without question, if we can accelerate that process by going all in on it.
But you've heard from people in the crypto industry. I imagine some of your friends who have said that some of these coins and what's happening may undermine a little bit of what's happening because people are questioning it. Right?
I have not heard that from anyone, actually. What I hear from those people is like, thank you for doing this. You're giving us the legitimacy that we fought.
No. What you hear from the crypto executives is thank you for the president shilling a meme coin, because there is no way in hell you are investigating Brian Armstrong or CZ from Binance or any of these crypto executives when the president himself is doing something that obviously feels corrupt. That's why they're saying thank you. They're not saying thank you for the proof of concept. They're saying thank you because, hey, the fact that Trump did this and you guys aren't there's no SEC investigation, there's no DOJ investigation. That means we can do whatever the fuck we want. That's basically the vibe I'm getting. That's why they're so thankful for it, which again, for us as investors, bullish crypto, bullish Hood, bullish Coinbase, bullish MicroStrategy. No debate there, but you call a spade a spade. I mean, it's obviously one of those things where the executives are happy because if the president's doing it, then they're going to be able to get away with what they want to do with as well.
For so long. And this isn't just a conservative issue, Joe. I mean, these are highly libertarian people. This is actually one of those, 50 million holders of, some sort of crypto, whether it's Bitcoin, stables, ETH, Sol, whatever it may be. There's 50 million in America, and they're not all right wing. These are people who just believe in freedom. They've seen what's happening, and they're looking for a corollary and a response.
I got one more for you, which goes to, do you believe, if you believe in the US dollar, which I think we all want to believe in, do we think that crypto, Bitcoin in particular, but crypto writ large, can ultimately undermine it?
Actually, I think the opposite. When you look at what's going on with so many of the stable coins, and as you create utility and those things happen, what we're doing with USD1, it's literally one-to-one backed with the US treasuries. If you look at some of these big, stable coins, they're literally some of the biggest buyers of U.S. treasuries in the world, replacing a lot of the countries that would have been traditionally doing that. So if we want to keep borrowing.
This is actually super bullish. So if the stablecoin legislation continues to be as strong as it is with the Genius Act, we should get a lot more demand for treasury come down even without getting rate cuts. So this actually is very bullish, basically for TLT.
And spending the way we do for some of these programs, I don't necessarily agree with all of that either. Like, I think these stable coins are actually going to be the savior of dollar hegemony in the world, not a detractor from it. I think that goes without question. If you look at even companies like Tether, I think they're the fourth largest holder of U.S. treasuries in the world. What we're going to do with USD1, I mean, this is billions and billions of dollars of treasuries that other countries who have not necessarily been good actors or who have taken advantage of those things over the years have said they're going to back away from to try to create their own kind of currency to eliminate sort of, the petrodollar, whatever it may be. I think stablecoins could be the savior of U.S. currency.
I agree with him on that. I think stablecoins could be super bullish. So this is my point, right? My personal opinion of Trump doing this meme coin thing as being corrupt has no influence on how I think about crypto because I'm an investor, and whatever personal opinion I feel about Trump doing the meme coin stuff is irrelevant to me. I care about how do I get alpha. And when he says something like, hey, there are companies backing up their stable coins with treasuries that are buying more treasuries than entire countries, that's super bullish, not only for crypto, but also for the macro environment in terms of yields and, obviously for assets like Bitcoin that depend so much on that global liquidity continuing to be in place, which is very bullish. Robinhood, by the way, we hit 71.30. Currently right now it's 71.19. So we are breaking out above 71, which is very nice. 72 again has about 20,000 shares waiting at 72. S&P 500 right back to 595. Green on the day, Palantir down about 1%. Tesla 351. NVIDIA not touching 142 again, 141.74. currently right there. Robinhood right back to 71.30, 71.29. There you go. And look, Biden and the Democrats and so many other different administrations have done corrupt things. This is not like, oh, Trump's the only person in politics who's done something that's corrupt. But it's like, come on, bro. Like Biden, obviously with Hunter Biden, all this stuff, there was tons of corruption there. And then you got Trump with this meme coin thing that is also, in my opinion, absolutely corrupt. I don't stress out and think about it every day. Like I think some people freak out and they like spend all their time tweeting about it. I'm like, dude, like you're not going to do anything about it. So like, like you can think whatever belief you want to believe, but like you have to move on with your life. But if we call a spade, it's pretty obvious that he didn't have any answer for the question. Neither did the Binance president who was on CNBC yesterday. I was watching that after the market opened, and they asked him, hey, isn't the meme coin a way for Trump to illegally get bribes? And like the dude just didn't answer the question because there is no answer to the question. Like it's obviously true. So it is what it is. Democrats, Republicans, they all do various things that people wouldn't agree with, that people could argue are corrupt. In this case, to me, it's just looking past that. You see that this is very, very strong for the overall crypto community because you have a president who showed that he's ready to open up the floodgates. And that's what we're seeing right now in crypto as well. Robin at 71.19. Let's see if we can break above 70, 71.30. I mean, that's where we had the high of the day. Who should be allowed to do a meme coin then? There's no rule against a politician doing a coin. Anyone can literally make a coin right now. I agree. I am not against anyone making a coin. I don't think there should be any restrictions on making a coin. My point is just like, dude, it's like the president of the United States using his power to issue one feels a little like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. It feels a little, I don't know, dude, it feels kind of like you shouldn't do that. Not saying you shouldn't be allowed to do that from a legal perspective. It's just like ethically, you should be like, oh, I'm not going to do that. But then again, Trump is Trump, and he kind of doesn't care. CoreWeave up 19%, dude. My goodness, new high of the day for CoreWeave. Bitcoin as well getting some momentum. That's up 1%, 106.7. VG holding on to 15%. NVIDIA up 3%. SMH Semiconductor ETF, that's up 1.9%. And then CoreWeave right here, 19% of the day. Pretty incredible. Pretty freaking incredible with CoreWeave. What is wrong with CoreWeave? I feel like nothing's wrong with CoreWeave. If you're in CoreWeave, you're probably pretty happy. And nothing's necessarily going wrong with this one. Dude, this is incredible. 19%. Why CEG losing its gains? I don't know, dude. That was a 12% pump. I guess the market didn't care that much about the Meta deal. Maybe they don't have any specific numbers. And so, yeah, I think the market didn't respect it enough, but still a great deal for Constellation Energy going into the end of the year, and obviously very good for the next 20 years as energy demand ramps up. The rug pull is going to be crazy on CoreWeave. Do you guys think it's going to get rugged? Think it's going to get aggressively rugged or no? I don't know, dude. I think at this point, Robin at 71.25. I think like if it does get rugged, it's going to be the most obvious rug ever, which is kind of why I don't think it's going to get rugged. Because like at this point, I think everyone knows, right, that it's very expensive. CoreWeave, $70 billion company. They IPO'd at like a freaking $15 billion valuation. This is just amazing, dude. It's pretty incredible. It could get rugged on earnings. What if they have a good earnings though? What if they still have a really good earnings? I mean, if they do, you never know. This one keeps up. All right, new year to date. Let's do a new year to date. Let's do that. What is your new year to date? Put it in the chat. My year to date is now 37%. I was at 25 last week on Friday when we did it. I'm at 36.9% right now. Hood definitely helping a lot of our year to dates. Palantir also last week was at like 122. Now it's at 131, which is nice. Grab's up a little bit, so that's helping me out right here. Grab 495 on the day. And then S&P. Oh, there she goes. Hoodie breaking through the high of day, 71.40. Dude, if she goes for 72. If she goes for 70 freaking 2, that's going to be exciting. That's going to be really exciting, bro. Let me check resistance again at 72, but dude, that means I think the market is kind of certain they're getting into the S&P. If we break 72, I think the market's just decided. 72 is 21,000 shares. Again, not a ton. Not a ton at all. I see a lot of 30%, 35%, 50%. 53%, 5%, 32. I see a lot of 30s. I'm at like 37, so it's very similar to a lot of people. 21 and 28%, 15.3. Josh at 14.6. Kyle at 30.2. Broadcom, I don't know what the news was today on Broadcom, but that one 52-week highs as well, 255. That's up about 3% on the day. 55%. AC at 30%. Duff Johnson, 68%. Yeah, dude, remember the S&P is barely green. So this is like not bad, bro. S&P barely green, and all of us dumb money retail investors kind of doing a little bit better than Mr. S&P. A little bit better. Neville's up 29%. Karan's up 40%. KK World up 72%. Kris up 56%. Beneficial says, I honestly feel like we're not getting in. And for like the past 2 or 3, I thought we were, but they just added coin. I would not be surprised by the S&P committee to be, the S&P committee and not let us in. But this price action is signaling the opposite, bro. Like, I would not be surprised if we don't get in because the S&P committee is weird, but people are like, why else? Like, Bitcoin's not moving. S&P's not moving, at least not like aggressively. There's been no big deal on Robinhood outside of their acquisition of Bitstamp that they closed yesterday. Like, there's no intrinsic reason for this to go higher outside of people buying it because they think something's going to happen, especially at literally 52-week highs. I mean, damn near close to all-time highs, because all-time highs was in the 80s and, we're $10 away. So like for people buying it at these levels, they're expecting something. Or maybe there's some news coming out on Robinhood that I don't know about outside of their crypto event in June. But the easiest way to kind of analyze this is S&P inclusion. If we don't get in, maybe we go back down to 60 or 65. But we've held 60 for the better part of a month now, and it's just a question of if we can really break above that with this S&P inclusion. Yeah, Bitstamp. Bitstamp was the one. I'm getting a phone call right now. Let me see who this is. Hello? Oh, it is? Okay, I got it. I'll be done in like 15 minutes. Okay. Got you. All right. Thank you. Dude, did I hold on? Today's June 3rd, right? Today's June 3rd. Oh shit. Guys, I have a flight today. Why did I think my flight was tomorrow? That was the Airbnb lady. She said, hey, you got to leave. It's 11 a.m. Wait, why did I think my flight was tomorrow? My flight's at 5. It's okay. My flight's at 5. Oh, no, there's no market close today, guys. Never mind. I gotta. Dude, it's 11:44. She called me. She's like, "Hey, checkout's at 11." And I was like, and for a second, I'm like, "What are you talking?" I'm like, "Holy shit! Today's June 3rd." Dude, why did I think I was here for another day? This is actually like, okay, so is my Airbnb and hold on, let me see. Do I have the okay, good. Okay, so my Airbnb is definitely booked for June 3rd. Okay, good. Because I was like, if I booked that for June 4th, I would be homeless tonight. Okay, I should leave. I should get out of here. Dude, why? No, it's not about being drunk. Even remember yesterday I said, hey guys, I'm going to be free the whole day tomorrow. That's because I thought I was staying in DC another whole day. Like I swear on I even told Ileana, I was like, yeah, dude, we'll go out tomorrow because I'll be, which is today. I'll be free the whole day. Why the hell did I think I was not taking a flight today? Dude, I should leave. She's probably mad, bro. She's like, it's 11. I'm like 45 minutes. All right, I got to get out of here. Holy crap, dude. I should leave. Now. It is not the mocktails, bro. I promise you. Last night, I told you guys, I was like, I'm going to be free the whole day in DC. I told Iliano I'm going to be with him the whole day tomorrow, which is today. And now I'm looking at the flight, and it's like, yeah, flight 550, June 3rd. Dude, what is going on? I really thought I was here for a whole day. I've got to pack, bro. I've got to really get out. Got clothes everywhere.
All right, that's it, guys. That's it for me. It's called Getting Old. I guess so, bro. I promise. I thought I was here I thought my flight was tomorrow. But that doesn't even make sense because tomorrow's Wednesday. Why would the flight be on Wednesday? Like I'm doing something tomorrow. There would be no way to do what I'm doing if I wasn't at the location, which means I have to leave today. So why did I don't know what the hell has been going on. But I booked this all over the weekend, and I guess I really didn't have everything organized in my brain. Thankfully, the Airbnb and the flights are like all secure, because if not, I would not have a place to stay tonight. All right, cool. I gotta get out of here. All right, folks. No market close today. I'm sorry. I thought it was here the whole day, but I'm not. Congrats to everyone. 71.45 on Hood. Absolutely incredible. Amazing journey. It has been just incredible following Robinhood's, beginnings from $6 in December of 2023, and now we're at 71. It is really hard to find these types of names, but it makes it really special when you're able to do it with an entire audience and people to follow along with you on the journey and be part of it. And it's super cool. Super, super, super cool. So shout out to Robinhood. Great day for Hood. Little crappy day for Hims, but that's okay. I think Hims will be fine, even if it had a little bit of a pump. And Hims, I think, is just went green right now. Did it go green? Yeah, it's back to going green. So this acquisition, regardless of how the market reacted, still great news for the overall Hims thesis. S&P 500 right here, 595. Grab right here at 496. And then Palantir, we are ending out just slightly right on the day, 131.34. But Hoodie got that $71 move. Hopefully we get a $70 close on Hood today. NVIDIA 141. Hims still up 1%. And hopefully we go green, 71.55 on Hood. All right, I'm out. Thank you, everybody. I will see you guys tomorrow, Wednesday, on the market open. Yeah, I should leave, dude. I was like, why am I getting a phone call from Maryland? I was like, what is this? I was like, oh, she's the lady upstairs. All right, I'm out. Thank you, everybody. Bye. See you guys tomorrow on the market open. Bye, everyone.